paperclip-shaped half mile.
Time for a little Martinsville madness.
Something's cooking here in Martinsville.
Hot dog, it's Martinsville. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys.
You boot him, you scoot him out of the way, and you boogie on.
You'll be worn out when this baby's over with.
The grandfather clock chimes for Denny Hamlin.
Got your clock, baby. Got your clock.
All right.
The rain is cleared, blue skies, temperatures in the 70s, red-hot tempers in the forecast. A little bit of wind, but we're ready to roll here. Yankee Stadium gone. Texas Stadium no longer home of the Cowboys. Shea Stadium knocked down, but the racing continues at Martinsville. They've been running here for 6 decades. As Fox Sports welcomes you to NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing, built by the Home Depot. She may be short, she may be old, but Martinsville always exciting, and the drivers ready to roll around this short track. And our Hollywood Hotel is outside of Turn 3. It's the place where America gathers every weekend for NASCAR, the 6th race of the year. Darrell Waltrip, he's won her 11 times. Jeff Hammond always trying to win, and I'm Chris Myers. Nice to have you with us. Hey, we didn't get the excitement we thought we'd get at Bristol. I have a feeling we're going to get it here.
Hey, little track, a lot of smack. That's what we're going to see today.
We've already talked about it. I mean, the excitement of this place right now today is everybody's anticipating what normally comes over as payback here at Bristol. Well, I'm looking for some payback before it's all said and done.
Can anybody stop the Busch brothers, whether it's Kyle or Kurt? Meanwhile, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Tony Eury Jr. feeling the pressure of a slow start. But Rick Hendrick said this week he has all the confidence in Jr.'s crew chief. He has no plans to make a change. More on this and a lot more when Darrell talks with Rick Hendrick a little later in the show. And a special day 25 years ago in this race. Hendrick won his first race as a car owner. Jeff Bodine was the guy behind the wheel. And rain affecting the qualifying here. Field set by current points in the standings. So Jeff Gordon is on the pole. He is your points leader. And let's talk a little bit about who we like in today's race.
Well, I like Jimmy Johnson. He's won 4 out of the last 5. Let's think about that. So, but the only problem I got for Jimmy Johnson today is he's starting 9th. And working that traffic's a little bit treacherous here.
Well, I can tell you a guy right now who needs to get a win here, and he's starting in the right position. It has to be Jeff Gordon. I mean, starting number 1, got the best pit stop as far as pit box, as far as pit road's concerned. Talked to Steve Letarte, his crew chief. Everybody there is focused. They feel like today is their day.
He's getting closer and closer, the points leader, despite a streak of 46 races without a win, longest drought in his career. But he's won here 7 times on this track, more than any other active driver.
Keep your eye on that number 24 car.
You can't keep Jeff Gordon down. Jeff Gordon is going to have a big year this year.
And a great moment here for Hendrick Motorsports. Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, Dale Earnhardt Jr., even Jeff Bodine here with Rick Hendrick. And a lot of history here for Hendrick Motorsports and for you, a 7-time winner.
It's a very special day. 25 years, that's something to be very, very proud of. And it all started here with Jeff Bodine winning that race. And I can't believe I've been a part of it for 17. This is my 17th year with Hendrick. And I tell you, it's just been the most incredible experience. I'm so thankful to be a part of it, and so many other people feel the same way. Rick Hendrick has just made a lot of people's dreams come true. And we hope we make his dream come true today. There's no pressure or anything to try to win this race today, but our DuPont Chevrolet is very strong.
Good luck, Jeff Gordon.
Thank you.
Chris?
All right, thank you, Steve. Here's what's ahead. We'll count you down to the start of the race. You talked about Martinsville and the Rick Hendrick tie-in with the memory and the emotion there. Well, Darrell will sit down and talk with Rick Hendrick about the past, the present, and maybe what Rick can do as an owner to help Dale Earnhardt Jr. pick up his next victory. Kyle Busch leading a lot of laps, always a lot to say, always fun to listen to on and off the track. We'll talk live with him. Marcus Ambrose doesn't have time to stop and smell the roses. We'll get to know the up-and-comer from down under. Also, this track famous for its hot dogs. See who can eat the most. And Gas and Go will have you rolling in the aisles. This is NASCAR on Fox. We're glad you're watching from Virginia.
I love that.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox, built by the Home Depot, is sponsored by Sunoco. From NASCAR to your car, Sunoco, it's what's inside. And by Cheez-It, the big cheese. Rick Hendrick, one of the great contributors to NASCAR. A lot of memories here. 1984 won his first race at Martinsville, and over the last 25 years, he's won more than any other owner. His 8 Cup championships, second only to Petty Enterprises, over 46,000 laps led. The guys behind the wheel for Hendrick over the years, a long and distinguished list, from Jeff Bodine to Terry Labonte, Dale Jr., even our own Darrell Waltrip. He's won at every track, every type of track. It's the short track of Martinsville that carries special meaning. It's where it started for Rick Hendrick and all the impressive numbers. And there's one of the, is that the car Jeff Bodine drove to help Rick Hendrick get that victory?
That is the car that he won here in '84.
You know, Darrell and Jeff, there are great owners in all sports. Dan Rooney in the NFL, Jerry Buss in the NBA, George Steinbrenner in baseball. They have their own style. They've all been successful. And I think Rick Hendrick would fit in that category for racing.
Yeah, I think hands-on is the key right there. And the word respect. Every employee, every driver, every crew chief, everybody that Rick Hendrick comes in touch with, does business with, they respect him. He has a lot of wisdom and a lot of knowledge. It's fun to talk to my old buddy Rick.
To see a contract that had Hendrick Motorsports written on it and my name, you know, following after it, entering into an agreement, really blew me away.
I can never see myself driving for anybody else.
Whenever you do something for the first time, it should be important.
He was a relative unknown as an owner when he got that win, and it was a little bit of a surprise win. I mean, that team was a good team, but they had just really kind of came together in the last couple of years.
I couldn't visualize or realize that it was ever going quite as far as it's gone, but it has been quite a ride.
Martinsville, special place. Matter of fact, it's so special, and you had so much confidence in your team that first time you went there with Jeff Bodine. Did you even go?
We didn't race every weekend back then. I got my calendar messed up. And so I was in church. I called my mother from a payphone after we got out of church in the afternoon. And I said, well, how'd the race go? She said, you don't know? I said, no. She said, Jeff blew up. I said, really? And she said, yeah. And she said, no, he won. I said, you're kidding.
Oh, no.
And I was in Greensboro. So we went over to his house and wrapped his yard in toilet paper and waited around all night, and I wasn't there.
Is there anything that goes on around here that you're not aware of, or that?
I'm sure there's a lot of that.
Is there anything that happens around here
that
you don't have your finger on?
I don't want to have it on all of it, I'll tell you.
I know you're a patient man. How patient can you be when you got Junior over here in the Junior Nation? Man on your back and on his back, wanting to see something happen here.
The biggest mistake you can make in life is pulling the trigger when you don't have a plan. What people on the outside can't see is what's going on the inside.
Yeah.
What they can't see, it's not Tony Jr.'s fault that this car is not where it needs to be.
Yeah.
And it's not Dale Jr.'s fault. It's everybody's got to get a little bit better. When I know that we're at the end of the rope, we'll make a change, but we're not there.
You had Kyle Busch. How does it make you feel to see what he is doing over there with Gibbs?
Yeah.
And you had him.
I'm happy for Kyle. I think a lot of Kyle. Kyle and I have a great relationship. It wasn't a bed of roses, and he's an awesome talent. I hate to race against him, but I also take a lot of pride in the fact that we got him to the point where he's in the Cup level. When a guy by the name of Darrell Waltrip said, "I'm not sure he's ready to be a Cup driver," and he went out.
I'm sure now.
He went out and won a race his first year.
How many races do you think I'd have won if I'd have stayed here?
I think 3 things: you'd have won more championships, you'd won more races, and you'd have more money.
Nothing like an honest friend. I tell you what. I love talking to Rick. Again, he has so much wisdom. But, you know, we were talking about Dale Jr., and people were anxious for him to make a change or do something. Rick's like a little duck. You ever see a little duck sitting out on a pond? And he's not going anywhere, just sitting there. But if you can see under the water, his little feet are pedaling away. Well, that's Rick Hendrick. He's just sitting on top of the water being calm and cool. But trust me, those little feet are pedaling away.
He should have listened to
He's
Rick.
got a plan. Yeah, I like the way he kind of stood up to you.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll hear from Kyle Busch a little bit later. Let's check in with Dale Earnhardt Jr. Krista Voda is standing by. Krista?
Well, Dale Jr. was 9 years old when Hendrick won that first race, and your boss celebrated by toilet papering his driver's house. That sounds like something the 9-year-old version of you would do. What would the celebration be if you win here today? You've been close.
Well, I wouldn't be cleaning up the toilet paper, so he'd have to answer to somebody else if he did that. But it'd be great to win here. We run so good here, and we just want to win. And,
The fans are great. It's a great racetrack. It's a lot of fun to race on, and like I said, when it comes so close, it's about time to pull it off.
All right, when fans for the first time can wear Dale Jr.'s hat, that's the team hat. It's now available. Dale Jr. is amped up about this race. He was second here in the fall.
Thanks, Krista. Ready to greet the fans. He's led more laps here than at any other track. And in the standings, Jeff Gordon, the points leader. It's Kurt Busch, Quint Boyer, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin. His last win was here. Last year, it's 8th, so he's in the top 12 for the first time this year. Jimmy Johnson, 9th. Junior, 19th. Mark Martin, 31st, and waiting on a decision by July is Rick Hendrick on the future of Mark Martin. Hey, the Digger Rig is here, the souvenir truck. It'll be at a track near you. And if you can't get out and buy something, a t-shirt, stuffed animal, go to foxsports.com, keyword Digger, or dwstore.com, and enjoy. We appreciate the support and enjoy Digger being in and around the track with his rig. And there is Jimmy Johnson, who has dominated here. Yet to win a race so far, but moving in the right direction. He could make his move today. We're counting it out to the start of the race at Martinsville Speedway here in Virginia. We're glad you're watching NASCAR on Fox. Sunny and 70 degrees.
Hi, I'm TV's Dick Berggren, and for the past 9 years, I've had to put up with that hysterical Chris Myers making jokes about my age.
Dick, I don't want to say you're old now, but I know on Dick's birthday, Lincoln takes the day off. He's so old that he lost to Mark Twain on Star Search. Oh! I kid because I cared. He's so old he knew the Dead Sea when it was just getting sick.
Yeah, priceless. Well, Chris turned 50 yesterday. Now it's my turn to make the jokes. Here we go. Yesterday, Chris went into an antique store and somebody bought him. He is so old, even his toupee is going bald. He's so old, he thinks Paris Hilton is a hotel in France. The person, right? Well, Chris, we bought you cake, but there were so many candles, the fire department had to come and put it out. Chris, the good news is you don't look old. The bad news is you are old. Back to you, Grandpa.
Revenge, baby. I love it.
I deserve every bit of that.
You do.
Dick was good.
Yeah.
Him and I are going to play shuffleboard in Boca until weather warms up. We'll
Have you got your cards yet?
So,
your AARP card?
No, they haven't mailed them yet.
Yeah, you're entitled to one.
That was a shot at Dick Berggren? Dick's so old. No, I won't do that. It's his day. It's his day to hammer me. All right, let's talk about Kyle Busch.
We've been talking about the old. Let's talk about the young, right?
And Kyle Busch, 23 years old. In his last 38 races, he's won 10 of those. He has been dominant. No championship yet. Last year, you thought he had the championship numbers. When we asked him yesterday, we spoke to him in an interview, Darryl, and he said, well, I'm mature, yeah, but I'm kind of the same old guy. But where's the difference for Kyle Busch?
You know, the thing is, you would think he won Bristol last weekend and dominated the race. You say, well, that's a half mile. This is a half mile. Should just transfer right over to here. But there's one big difference between Bristol and Martinsville, and it's what we talk about all the time. He hates to use his brakes, and you have to use a lot of brakes here. So I think the success at Bristol, you roll the corner, don't need a lot of brake. Here you better stand up on them pretty hard. That's not easy for him to do. He likes to go wide.
I don't agree with you there because he grew up racing that little short bull ring over there at Las Vegas, so he understands about how I think to be finesseful. I think part of what his problem is right now, he hasn't had a good race here yet, and I think mentally it's got him off a little bit. I think he's just frustrated with this racetrack a little bit, and once he figures it out, Darryl, he'll be fine.
Yeah, and he's admitted this race is a challenge, but he's kind of guy who rises
up to challenges. I trust him to know about
the mental situation. I understand all about that, buddy.
When there are maturity issues, we can help with that. When you hear some drivers speak, it's easy to detect an accent in their voice. Marcus Ambrose, driver of the 47 car, a Southern accent, Southern Hemisphere accent. So let's get to know the man from down under who's coming off his first top 10 finish on an oval track.
G'day, I'm Marcus Ambrose, driver of the number 47 Little Debbie Toyota. I grew up in Tasmania, Australia, but now I live in the US of A. Not too loud. But just like Crocodile Dundee, true Australians love to go outback, even a little bit of gold prospecting. Doesn't taste real to me. I had my very first NASCAR race here at Martinsville. I was freaked out. I jumped in the wrong side of the car, forced to eat hot dogs I didn't understand. We turned full circle. Here we are now, Sprint Cup driver on my return to Martinsville. It's going to be a great weekend. Cheers.
Only once in history has a foreign-born driver won here at Martinsville. It was Earl Ross from Canada, right?
Yeah.
Canada. So what kind of chance does a guy like Marcus Ambrose have?
Well, he's fizzed up. That's the expression they use in Australia.
Oh, is that what that? Okay.
The way that he's been running and the way that Michael Waltrip Racing's cars have been running, he and Ruderman particularly, I would count him in the top 10 for sure.
You know, you got some of the same traits when you come to a road course when you come to Martinsville, being able to use the brakes floated in the corner. He's a great road racer, and he loves these race cars because they're hard to handle, but he loves the fact they got a lot of horsepower. So I think just mentally, he's ready to challenge this racetrack.
Yeah, you've said this is a road course, right? It's like driving a road course
Very
here.
similar, yeah.
You've tackled 11 wins here. Time for our Fox News Watch. This week reported that Scott Speed and A.J. Allmendinger are on the short list of drivers in demand by the United States F1 team. Contrary to earlier reports, Kyle Busch is not on that list. Joe Gibbs Racing finalizing a deal with Hollywood's powerful international management group. That'll give the team full access to all of IMG's sponsorship, sales, and other facets of the business. And this year's All-Star race in Charlotte at Lowe's Motor Speedway, again changing the format, still 100 laps total. They're rearranged. There's a 10-lap shootout that will end the race, and it should make it a little bit more exciting. All right, time now for our Gas and Go questions and answers. And no one knows the contents of these questions. They have been locked away in the psychiatrist's office.
I'm never comfortable with this.
Of the Octomom. All right, here we go. You're on the clock.
Now, he is out of gas and he needs to go.
Daryl, will Greg Biffle get back in the top 12? He's dropped from, he was 4th, back now to 18th in the last few races.
Yeah, and I think this time last year he was in the top 5 or 6. So I don't know, boy. When you get, when you start down that slippery slope of bad performances, it's hard to turn it around. That's where he is right now. It's going to take a really good race to get him going again.
Right, and Roush Fenway overall, right? And not doing well this weekend.
They haven't been struggling here at Martinsville in particular, and this is not an easy place, and you can lose some more ground. So, I mean, tough day probably looking for him.
He has brake trouble here a lot, too.
Yes.
Okay. Jeff, for you, a Casey Kane, a guy, can he win a championship? Now, he's moving up in the points. He's currently 6th.
Again, I think he's got to get some more experience. He's been kind of hot and cold the last couple of years. I know they're running well this year, but they do have the king on their side this time as one of the owners, Richard Petty. He may be able to give this man some advice. It may pay off in the long run.
All right, Daryl, for you, do you see David Ruderman staying in the top 12, currently 11th in the points? Does he stay there?
I do. Yeah? I thought it was a fluke the first couple of races there. I said, when they get some of the tougher tracks, like Vegas, like Atlanta, and even Bristol, I thought they would fall out. But I'll tell you, this kid right now, he's the franchise. He's named himself the franchise of Michael Waltrip Racing, and he's living up to it.
I saw that on top of the car, and it's like, I can't believe the man would change his name to franchise.
You say yes, sir? He says yes.
I think he can, too. He's looking good.
He's to stay in.
Jeff, how impressive has David Gilliland been? You talk about a guy who's doing well. The unsponsored car, he's in that top 35, that points barrier.
It's amazing sometimes how some people can respond to pressure. I mean, these guys basically had no race team during the month of December. All of a sudden, they put something together, and he has responded. A lot of people question his ability, especially at Yates Racing, but he's really risen to the occasion, and I think he's making a statement that he can drive and he belongs here.
All right, we hope that Yates Racing is okay. Daryl, for you, and this is our Ask.com question from the viewer for Gas and Go. You submit it, and it's from Danny Wade of Three-Way, Tennessee. Don't say anything, Jeff. You'll get us all in trouble. But this is legitimate. Danny asks, what's the biggest difference between Bristol and Martinsville? You've been very successful at both, and we're now going to see this play out.
I said it with Kyle Busch. It's brakes. You got to know how to play that. You got to play those pedals. You got to know how to work the gas, work the brake. Guy that can do that can win this race.
All right. Jeff, for you, a theory on what's missing on the 88 crew, whether it's crew chief, driver?
I've been looking around, Chris, and honestly right now I really believe the missing component has to be Darian Grubb. The crew chief for Tony Stewart this year at one time was with Hendrick Motorsports. Remember, he won 2 races with Jimmy Johnson as a team engineer when Chad Knaus got in trouble. But right now, I think that's the component. He was the interpreter a year ago on that 88 car that really made Tony Uri Jr. and Dale Jr. really work. Remember how competitive he was early part of the season last year? Again, led a lot of laps here. Darian's the missing component.
All right, and last question. Gerald, this will be a yes or no. Will Tony Uri Jr. be the crew chief for the 88 crew at the end of the year?
I think he will.
Okay.
I think they're going to turn the corner. Just talking to Rick, I feel confident he will.
All right, and 10th, the best finish for Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the team so far this year. If you have a question you'd like Jeff or Darrell to answer on the show here on the pre-race show, ask DW at ask.com. The question will be selected, and we'll do it in our pre-race show when we're in Texas next Sunday.
Texas?
Yes, Texas.
Let's go to Texas.
This track known for great racing and its famous hot dogs. And on a race weekend, up to 50,000 hot dogs are consumed at the track. Rachel Ray would even get more giddy if she saw crews in the garage scarfing down these dogs. And as Rachel likes to say, yummo.
This is a Martinsville hot dog. A lot of guys have tallies up and down the garage here to see how many they can eat during the day.
Here in Martinsville, hot dogs are a big tradition.
I mean, you'll see guys lining up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Heard guys is eating as many as 34, 35 hot dogs.
I happen to know someone that ate 47 hot dogs. That's a lot of hot dogs in one day.
We'll be keeping tabs throughout the race. Moments ago, Kyle Busch introduced here. We know he's on a roll at the track with the fans. Listen to how they responded at Martinsville. All right, so Darrell, you know,
tough crowd,
guys. Yeah, tough crowd. He handles that well, though.
Yeah, you know what? When you've had a lot of success, right now he's having fun with it. But the more success you have, the more that gets to you, because you want the fans to cheer your accomplishments. And when they start booing you after you've had a great day, it's hard to take.
They used to boo him too.
Well, and some interesting comments he made about Dale Earnhardt Jr., which he said he was having a little fun with, but that may be bothering some of Junior Nation. We'll count you down to the start of the race. Darrell's up to the booth, and Jeff and I will continue here in just a moment. NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing, built by the Home Depot, is sponsored by Claritin Allergy Products. Live Claritin Clear. The start of the race here in Martinsville in just a few moments. Fans reminded there's still time to plan a trip to Talladega. We go from the shortest track to the biggest, the lengthiest track. The nationwide Sprint Cup cars will be in action April 24th through the 26th. There are still great seats available for an unforgettable weekend of racing. You can call 877-GO-TO-DEGA or log on to www.talladegasuperspeedway.com for more details. Clint Boyer, one of those guys up there in points and starting near the front of the race in the 33 car.
Yeah, he'd be one you have to watch. But how about the guys back in the back like David Reagan, Ryan Newman, Jamie McMurray, and Mark Martin, who sat on the pole at Bristol? They got a long ways to come to get there.
If you start in the top 10, 73% of the time, you've been a winner in this race. Let's head down to trackside.
Race fans, at this time, please rise and remove your hats for today's invocation and the singing of our national anthem. Today's colors are presented by the Virginia VFW. For our invocation today, please welcome Michael Harrison, Raceway Ministries.
Let us pray. Father, we come before you today and we thank you for this beautiful day. And we just simply ask that you would please keep these drivers, these crews safe. And we thank you for touching our county and our community. Please help us to continue to honor this place, but to honor you even more. Thank you for sending your son to die on the cross for us, and we ask that you would give us hope, real hope, in this difficult economy. Father, thank you for this time. Please use this day. In Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen.
And now for today's national anthem. It'll be performed by the 29th Army Band, Virginia National Guard.
Great weather here in Martinsville, Virginia, and one of the great things about this track, like an ACC basketball game, you're right on top of the action. That's how we roll here on Fox.
Welcome, NASCAR fans, to the Goodies 500, presented by the Home Depot. Just like 43 race teams prepare for every race each week, we at the Home Depot prepare every day to bring you the best home improvement ideas and brands at guaranteed low prices. And with spring upon us, our stores are stocked and our associates stand ready to help you save more and do more on all of your home improvement projects. On behalf of 300,000 Home Depot associates across the country, enjoy the race.
And we thank you for that as the crews are getting ready for their drivers to get ready. 2014 for Jeff Gordon, his wife Ingrid sporting the new hairdo. I think Jeff is growing his longer. She's going shorter. Jeff, your Verizon Championship Racing checklist as we get ready to hop in the car.
Yeah, we're here at Martinsville, so obviously when we think about checklists and everything, we got a little bit of a different spin. The number one thing I'm talking about today is going to be to take care of your tires. You got a new right side tire. It's going to wear a lot heavier because of a green racetrack. We've got no rubber on the track, so you got to take care of those right side tires early on. Secondly, you've got to save the brakes. Always at Martinsville, brakes are so important. Get down in the corner. If you want to win this race, you got to have them at the end. And oh, by the way, to get to the end, you've got to have patience, patience, and patience.
And that means patience, I think. Hey, the track being green here, we didn't get a lot of practice time. Qualifying rained out. Yeah, because all the practice got rained out. All the rubber that had been laid down for the practices for the Camping World Truck Series as well as the Sprint Cup Series has been washed off. So they've got to kind of like you might say, get the track ready, really the race on. It'll take 50 or 60 laps to be able to do that. So it's really going to have a heavy toll on those right side tires. As you get a look at this track, again, they've been running here since the late 40s, the longest running series if NASCAR stops here in Martinsville, Virginia, and the shortest track. Well, let's head down with a great crowd on hand for those words we like to hear.
Race fans, it's time for the most famous words in motorsports. Welcome back to today's Grand Marshal and honorary starter, Capitol Records recording artist, Trace Atkins.
Gentlemen, Jeff Gordon is on the pole. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has led the most laps in each of the last two spring races here, but Kyle Busch has won 2 of the last 3 races overall.
Today, NASCAR's at the short track that thinks it's a super speedway, the shortest track on the circuit and perhaps the most action-packed at all. Look how they funnel down into turn 1. Here at Martinsville Speedway, transitioning from asphalt to concrete and back again 500 times this afternoon. Welcome to Martinsville. Mike Joy, Larry McReynolds, Darrell Waltrip with you to call this race. Darrell, I was a little disappointed in Bristol. It was a fun race to watch. Where was all the beating and banging and slamming and gouging that we thought we'd see?
Well, you're going to see it today.
All right.
They saved it for today. See, Bristol became a track with multi-grooves. This racetrack, you've got one option here, and it's really, really quite simple. If somebody's holding you up, you got to move them out of your way. That's what you'll see today. You're going to see a lot of single-car spins because guys are going to get tired of you holding him up. He's going to knock you right out of the way.
And then that's what you've got to do on the racetrack. What I've got to do on pit road, especially if I'm starting near the back of the field like Ryan Newman, Mark Martin, or Jamie McMurray, as a crew chief, I've got to make the right moves on pit road. I think 4 tires are going to be critical today, but I think in the early going to get those guys up to the front, I'm going to have to pull some strategy, and we know at the end of this 500-lap race we'll see some strategy by those crew chiefs.
Patience is a virtue. Not many virtuous drivers in that 43-car field today. Here's the starting lineup for today's race. The field was set by points because qualifying was rained out. In fact, most of the Friday schedule here fell to rain, so back to front. Here is how they will line up for 500 laps around the track we like to call the paper clip. Drag strip straightaways, 800 feet long, and sharp U-turns at each end. 35 miles an hour in the middle of the corner, but an average speed per lap of 93 miles an hour. A real test of driver and especially machine.
Let's see if we can get a hold of Tony Stewart here for a second. Tony Stewart. It's DW up in the Fox booth. Got me, buddy?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Hey, Tony, you've had a good start to the year, and you've been real consistent. You got yourself pretty good shape in the points now. Is today the day that we can let it all hang out and get us a win?
I hope so. I'm real proud of Darian Grubb and all the guys in this Old Spice Office Depot team. They've done a great job. And, you know, every week's a learning week for us, you know, learning each other and a new package. So, you know, I was pretty happy with where we were in practice. You know, made some changes for today, obviously, and we'll see if we can get her there in victory lane today.
Yeah, Roger, what do you think the conditions here are going to be on the start? Are you worried about the track being green as we get ready to go here?
No, not really. I mean, it's normally slick for a couple laps just because it is green, but, you know, every race almost starts that way. But I think probably today's going to be better just from the standpoint of with the sun. We'll probably get more rubber in the racetrack and be able to, you know, get this thing like it normally is. So I think Goodyear's brought a really good tire this week, so that's something that makes it encouraging for all of us.
All right, buddy, 10-4. Good luck to you, and we'll be watching.
Wow.
Make it a great race day with the perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Budweiser, the great American lager. Get you ready to race.
Now let's take a look at our FedEx Understanding the Race. These would be the trends or the patterns over the last 8 Martinsville races we've covered in the spring NASCAR on Fox. Longest green flag run, average about 77 laps. Now a fuel run here is about double that, 140 to 150 laps. The average cars running at the finish, 37 cars. But 2 years ago in 2007, all but 1 car was running at the finish of this race. And the last caution, normally about lap 471, 29 to go. Last year, though, the last caution was 96 laps to go. But 4 of those 8 races, a caution happened less than 10 laps to go.
It's going to be noisy and hard to hear down there on pit road, so before they come to full speed, let's get an update from our NASCAR on Fox pit crew, starting with Matt Yoakum.
Mike, Kevin Harvick knows all about legendary places and special races. He has a Ridgeway clock, the trophy for winning here at Martinsville, but his concern, like so many others, just how different this racetrack will be. Yes, there will be a competition caution on lap 40, but many up and down pit road, Steve Burns, expect to see the first half of this race, tires, the most important element, and then it rolling into an old traditional Martinsville race. Where do you battle the tires versus track position equation? We'll find out. Steve?
Well, Matt and Larry Mack talked about strategy on pit road. How about strategy on and off pit road? Jimmy Johnson and his crew chief, Chad Canals, have selected a pit box way down here in turn 4. Why is that? Chad Canals simply said, I don't want to get caught up in the traffic exiting where the other guys are in turn 1, Dick.
Jeff Gordon is a favorite to win today's race because he has won more of these than any other driver in today's event. Led more laps, won more poles, more top 5s. He also has the best pit stall. Chris Devoda.
Jeff Burton has 2 grandfather clocks, one in Nationwide, one in Company. Lost the pendulum to one. How do you lose a pendulum? That's what Jeff Burton says. He keeps one in his living room, one in his trophy room. He said the trophy is so special, it's the only one he publicly displays in his house. He hopes the pendulum swings towards him today.
Thank you, folks. We're ready to go for 500 laps. Due to practice being rained out yesterday, NASCAR will throw a competition caution at lap 40 for teams to check tire wear. No refueling is permitted until the competition yellow.
See pit road speed 30 miles per hour. The pit window for Sunoco race fuel 130 to 140 laps. I think we'll see strategy around that caution at lap 40.
Well, here we go. My favorite racetrack, and boy, this is going to be fun.
DW, a lot of beating, a lot of banging, 500 laps. Reach up there and pull those belts tight one more time.
All right, green flags out. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys.
For the 25th time in his career, Jeff Gordon leads at Martinsville.
Remember, he comes in here our points leader, so that will be 5 more points.
I got a feeling we're going to see that 24 car right where he is a lot today. Car was awesome in practice. It's been good ever since they unloaded. It's been good ever since Jeff Gordon started racing here, actually.
Rick Hendrick's team has yet to score a win in a point race in 2009. Lots think this could be the day. Folks who want to spoil that party, of course, the Busch brothers, the last drivers to visit victory lane, running second and third.
And I got to tell you, a caution at 40 laps is pretty optimistic in my mind. I think we're going to have one way before then.
We may have one right here because I've been watching Matt Kenseth. You're looking back at him in that DeWalt 17 car. He was almost in the way when the green flag dropped, but he struggled in practice on Friday. What practice they got?
You know, Larry, I don't understand what's going on with those Roush cars because they really haven't been up to speed. Haven't won any races yet this well. Matt won Daytona, I'll take that back. But, boy, they've struggled the last couple of weeks.
Only one Ford in the top 15 or top 25 at Bristol, and that was Carl Edwards' 15th. Third place race. Here comes Clint Boyer. He's expected to be tough today.
As I walked through the garage area this morning, yeah, there were a lot of fingers being pointed at the 48 and the 24 car, the cars to beat, but also a lot of people were talking about that 33 Clint Boyer, who comes in here third in the Sprint Cup Series points.
Well, I know a guy I talk about a lot, and I'm sure he'll be a factor here before too long, is right behind Kyle Busch. That 48 car is slicing and dicing, and he's doing just what we said. He's moving them out of the way and coming to the front.
There's Jimmy sitting in sixth, just ahead of Carl Edwards and Denny Hamlin.
Looking to the inside there on Kyle. Kyle closed the door on him. It's a little early to charge down in there.
You can look all you want here, Darrell, but gosh, this looks like such a hard place to pass.
Listen, and it's a physically demanding place because there's so much that goes on here from a driver's compartment.
You know, we talked about Matt Kenseth really sliding backwards. Another car that's sliding backwards, we're riding with him right now, Casey Kane in that 9 car. He started in the 6th position. He's fallen almost outside the top 20, so he's struggling early.
But you know what? That may not be all bad, Larry. This track's going to change so dramatically once we get into this race. Once they lay some rubber down, you don't know what you got until we get into the race a little bit.
Third place, Tony Stewart takes it from Clint Boyer.
I definitely think that's one car that a lot of people, they've not talked a lot about this week as far as a favorite of coming in there. Tony Stewart in the 14. They talked about the Hendrick cars. They talked about Kyle Busch, Clint Boyer. But let's remember, Tony Stewart runs good at this racetrack. He's led a ton of laps.
Just saw the Clint Boyer. He saw the 48 coming. Spotters tell him on the radio, 48's coming. He's a little quicker than you are. Give him some room. Move to the outside. Jimmy Johnson moves up another spot.
Steve Burns.
Mike, listening to Matt Kenseth in the race car, he is frustrated. He just screamed, "This is ridiculous." His spotter, Mike Kalanoff, busily just trying to find Matt a place to ride.
That's a team that started off the 2009 season, won the first 2 races. And I won't say the wheel has run off since then, but they definitely have been far off those 2 performances.
And Dick Berggren, what's up with Casey Kane?
Car is just tight, Mike. Casey can't get through the corners.
But I think Darrell's right. When you look at the surface right now, remember, this has concrete corners, and they're pretty white right now. We get 200 laps into this race, they'll start turning black because rubber will start being laid down.
This is when the crew chief always said those favorite words to me. Just calm down. It'll come to you. And then what about that leader right behind me?
The spotter says leader 4 cars back.
That's right.
Yesterday's NASCAR Camping World Truck Series race was also rained out, so it's a very green racetrack. You will see the truck race tomorrow at noon on Speed. Sunday drive for Jeff Gordon.
So
out
far.
front and all alone. He's got about another quarter lap to go between himself and the next lapped car.
So another car on the move right there. Denny Hamlin in that 11 car trying to bring David Rudiman with him. A car we're riding with right now, Carl Edwards in the 99. A lot like his teammate Matt Kenseth, probably not quite as bad, but they struggled in that practice on Friday as well.
Yeah, Carl's in pretty good shape compared to the teammates. Carl's up here in the top 10, 9th. You got the other 3 Roush cars back here. They're running 21st, 22nd, and 23rd.
And a lot of that, Darrell, is a function of where they are in the point standings, because that's how the starting lineup was determined for today's race after qualifying rained out.
But Mike, you mentioned that Jeff Gordon, our leader in the 24 car, he's led the first 16 laps. He's going to be catching the back of the pack shortly, and that will just, all that will do is bring Kurt Busch, Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson right up to his rear bumper as he starts fighting those lap cars, because they're fighting to stay on the lead lap.
And remember, with this car of today platform, the front bumper and the rear bumper heights are identical. They do line up, and you'll see a lot of bump and bang and kind of caterpillar-like reactions back through the field as things get close quartered here, and they will. Montoya was quick in practice in the 42. Now he's got a different approach to this racetrack as a 7-time Formula One race winner would. Easy into the corner and make all your speed from the third of the corner to the exit and down the straightaway. That's a little different pattern than some of these fellows who were raised in traditional stock car racing.
He may have had the quote of all quotes about Martinsville. You go in the corner like a gentleman. You come off the corner like an animal.
He tried to talk to Jamie McMurray this week about their dust up at Bristol, where McMurray got into him and he turned McMurray around, and whatever Juan was selling, Jamie wasn't having any of it. It was a brief and heated conversation, and they parted with no resolution.
4, guys.
Michael Waltrip in the wall, almost in the wall.
That will bring the caution out just before Jeff Gordon started lapping cars.
Come on if you can.
Did he get the wall? Yes, he did, just a little.
Okay, rear end's fine, guys.
You know, the way they're fixing these cars now, he got in under the 12 car there, Strimmy, and he just probably too much rear brake for this point of the race. But the way the guys are fixing the rear of these cars for these short tracks, you can see Michael getting real loose there, getting in, trying to get under Strimmy, and just made a light contact. But the way they're fixing the rear of these cars now, you don't want the rear of the car to be real strong. You want to be able to take a shot in that rear bumper and not affect your car all that much. So they're not putting the heavy bumper braces back there that you might think they do.
How convenient that the height of the wall comes just below the rear wing, which was undamaged when Michael got into the fence.
Now remember, pit road is open. We will have a caution in about 18 laps, but we've got about the back third of the field coming to pit road. I gotta believe they're gonna change 4 tires. They'll make adjustments, but remember, they can't fuel their cars on this caution. But this will be the strategy that I think they'll be looking for, is we know we have the caution at lap 40. Everybody at the front will come in. I think these guys will either stay out or maybe come in and just top off with fuel.
Oh yeah, this is perfect for gaining track position. Not right now, but when the next caution flies.
Right, because the competition yellow that everyone knows is coming at lap 40 is optional. You can pit, you don't have to.
Boy, you have to have a lot of give and take, not only on the track, but in pit lane here. They got to be real careful.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing, built by Home Depot. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. And sponsored by Sprint, NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile. It'll change the way you experience the race. By the all-new 09 F-150. It's not just a new truck, it's a new F-150. And by Aflac. Ask about it at work.
Ready for the restart? Jeff Gordon has led every lap so far. The first 4 drivers have 16 Martinsville wins between them. As we go back to green, the lapped car of Michael Waltrip up at the front. No free pass on this first caution of the day. And Todd Bodine has taken his car to the garage area. His oldest brother Jeff was his spotter up on the roof today. Jeff scored that win for Rick Hendrick, win number 1, 25 years ago right here.
We had 17 cars at the back of the field that pitted that time for tires and adjustments, but again, no fuel. That's the way the rule works when you have a competition caution coming at a certain lap.
You know, the tires in the past have been so good here. You could just, I mean, you almost felt like sometimes you didn't even want to change tires. But we do have a new right side today. It's a little bit softer. Wear could be an issue as we get into this race, particularly early on here with the track green.
Teammates battling, Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch fighting it out for 6th place. I think Hamlin's got a chance to be a top 3 car here today. Loves this place. It's his second home track. He grew up outside of Richmond, and he really expected they would come in here with a car capable of winning.
Well, you know, last year Jeff Gordon started on pole. He started second, and they finished just the opposite. He won, and Jeff finished second. So 11 cars definitely be a factor before we get done here.
Well, now Hamlin's got a problem because the lap car, Michael Waltrip's just in front of him. He's got to get to the outside, and does, to clear traffic before he can go back after the 33 of Boyer.
Boy, Hamlin's teammate that time, Kyle Busch in the 18, was giving him a little help through the corner, almost a bump draft. That's for Talladega, not for Martinsville.
Oh, Boyer just rooted Waltrip out of the bottom, and Michael turns left to return the favor. And this is the kind of racing we're used to seeing at Martinsville.
Yeah, and I think Michael may just get a little ride here if he's not careful, because he's a lap down and he's holding all these guys up. He needs to either go on or get out of the way.
He's got a single file of about 25 cars right behind him.
And that usually guys they'll be patient with you for a little bit, but you better go on.
Now, Michael Waltrip did come in and put on tires, so his tires are fresher than the cars he's racing against.
The thing about it, Michael does not need to push the envelope here because he's the only car a lap down, and we know we're going to have a caution in 8 laps, and he'll get the free pass.
Here's Matt.
Kyle Busch running 7th, and DW talked about it last week at Bristol. Kyle Busch just so smart, like a football coach, in the first quarter, but looking ahead to the third quarter, what the other teams may do as far as strategy. He says his car not good on the short run. Maybe after 50 laps it might come in, but he really feels that they're going to have to take a big swing of it on their first stop. The car just way too tight on exit at this juncture.
Yeah, and Matt, you can't adjust. You cannot, as a crew and as a driver and as a crew chief, you can't adjust to these conditions. You've got to anticipate what this track's going to be like at 200 laps, 300 laps, 500 laps.
You know what I anticipate? Denny Hamlin going to the lead, as he just dispensed with Clint Boyer, and now he's got to get past Michael Waltrip to have a shot at the front four. Gordon, Kurt Busch, Jimmy Johnson, and Tony Stewart.
And you know, we sat down with Denny Hamlin, the 3 of us, and talked to him, and there's definitely some frustration there. This is his 4th full season in Sprint Cup. He said, you know, the first year we had an opportunity to win 2 races and we won them. The last 2 years we've had an opportunity to win about 10 or 12 races and we only won 1 per year.
One thing that worries me a little bit about the Gibbs cars is I talked to Hammond this morning, and maybe sometime today we can get a look at. They've got a brand new brake package on their cars that they're running here. And with a limited amount of testing and without any practice to speak of, I'm sure they're comfortable with what they have, but always made me nervous starting to race with something new.
I think the good news is a lot of them went down to that new little short track at Rockingham and really worked these brakes hard to make sure they were comfortable with them.
Now, things have settled out single file here because everyone knows, as NASCAR said in the drivers' meeting, that in 2 laps we will get a competition yellow. See that little ding on the right rear of Kyle Busch's? Denny Hamlin gave him that.
Well, I think we made note of this when this happened. This was going through 1 and 2, and they kind of got stacked up. You can see Boyer came down on Kyle. Kyle had to check up. Denny Hamlin got into the back of him over in turn 2.
And again, I just want to reiterate that the rear of these cars is pretty soft, and they're that way on purpose. The nose is tough, protect that radiator and everything up there, but you want that rear to give so when somebody does boot you, it doesn't spin you out.
All right, the field will cycle through at the 40-lap mark. And as they do, NASCAR will put the caution out so all of these teams can come in and check tire wear. And this time, the addition of Sunoco race fuel will be permitted. There's the caution. We're at 40 laps, and Jeff Gordon, who has not won in a year and a half, comes to a track where he has been so successful, and so far he has led them all.
Yeah, and this is when that strategy that we talked, that bunch that pitted earlier, now let's see how many of them stay out, because the 24 could be marred back in traffic if all those cars that pitted earlier stay out.
When it's open, make sure you see the light.
Yeah, because they're still 100 laps away from where they would need fuel. And as I mentioned in my FedEx Understanding the Race, average green flag run here is 77 laps.
I think they're going to stay out.
Stopping is optional, and Michael Waltrip does get the free pass on this caution. He is the first, okay, he's the only car 1 lap down. Jeff Gordon has 7 of those Ridgeway grandfather clocks.
Mike, pit road wasn't open that time by. That's why they didn't come in. I see the red flag with the crossing on the back over there. It's not open this time.
No, the red lights, the Whelen lights are blinking. And the commit line's a little different here at Martinsville because you enter the pits at turn 3 and exit the pits at turn 2. So the commit line is a white line painted across the track right near the Home Depot banner. You need to have at least 2 of your tires on that line if you intend to pit. The pit road speed limit starts at the yellow line that's a little closer to turn number 3. So here come most all the leaders. Let's start with Steve Burns.
Mike Dwight, Jimmy Johnson's going to get a chassis adjustment. He said he's good getting in the corners, good getting off, but he is tight in the center. So they will make a chassis adjustment to that number 48 Chevrolet of Jimmy Johnson.
Boy, I'm surprised, Larry, that everybody has come to pit road.
Matt?
And Kyle Busch threw up, whoa, close call there with the 33 as Kyle Busch had to go around the 33 of Boyer. They're going to make a chassis adjustment. They're going to go on the track bar and a slight air pressure adjustment as the changer slips coming around the car, trying to get this car freed up. Dick Berger?
Away from the, even as he was pulling away from the field, Jeff Gordon was telling his crew that the car was a bit tight in the center of the turns. They have adjusted air pressure only for that to try to get him through the corners better.
Now look at this pit road. There is a wall on the outside of pit road. We don't have that many places. We don't have a blind exit around the corner many places like you do here. My gosh, it's a tough pit road to work.
She gets mighty, mighty crowded down there in that corner.
Ready for the restart with a new leader. Scott Speed was one of two drivers who did stop at lap 22 and did not come in on this one. The other is our favorite Mr. Contrary for race strategy, Robbie Gordon. He's going to run this race his way. He stopped at lap 22 and did not stop on this caution. The drivers who did begin with Jeff Gordon in third place.
I think that was a great move by Jimmy Elledge, Scott Speed's crew chief. I'm like Darrell. I'm surprised more of those guys that pitted on lap 26, 22 that did not stay out and get this track position. Remember, Scott Speed's one of those cars that fell outside the top 35 after Bristol. He has to qualify on time right now, so these 5 points are critical for him.
And as you can see, when you're in the front, you can just drive off and leave everybody for a while.
Ooh, Robbie Gordon sliced in front of Kurt Busch, who very patiently gave him room. Gordon in the 7. Now Busch in turn 3.
See, that
takes his piece of the racetrack.
That's a tough place right there, because that car on the outside leaves you just enough room to squeeze in there, but you got to be hard on the brakes to keep from getting into him. Sometime you'll get loose, like we saw Michael do earlier, and then get in that car on the outside and spin yourself out.
Meanwhile, Kyle Busch trying to make hay on the outside, but he's battling the franchise. David Rudiman. That's a funny nickname. I mean, in different sports, it means different things, of course. But he's had a little fun with his boss, Michael Waltrip. He says, hey, I'm the franchise. I'm the future of this organization right here.
He's the face of the organization. That's what it's all. I mean, he's been carrying the banner. I'll give him credit for that.
But you know why those guys are battling right there? The car right in front of them, Mark Martin in the 5 car, Alan Gustafson. They had a good car on Friday in practice. Remember, started 31st. That's the strategy that Alan Gustafson needed to get him up to the front. Pitted for tires on lap 22, pitted for fuel only on lap 40.
We listened in on Kyle Busch.
So was David Rudiman.
I don't know what I need. I suck. I can't get out the corner.
Woo. And that was after we cleaned it up.
Well, see those Gibbs cars, I got to find out. There's got to be an answer to why all that black smoke comes out of the tailpipes the way they do.
Well, I'm working on that, and what I have learned so far is they're doing things to their engine and to their carburetor that almost makes the engine act like a Jake brake when he rolls out of the throttle. Really slows the thing down, which is what you need here at Martinsville. That's the reason we see it here and here only, because that's where it's so important with these tight corners at the end of these long straightaways.
Yeah, contrary to what some people thought, it's not brake dust. It's coming out of the tailpipes, and it's black smoke.
But all 3 Gibbs cars do it.
Exactly.
Here's today's Aflac trivia question. Who scored their first Cup win while driving for Hendrick Motorsports?
It's a fairly long list.
Yeah, this is the 25th anniversary of their first win. It's a long list. 8 drivers are on that list. Wow. Hendrick has 175 wins in what is now Sprint Cup racing. 17 of them have come here. Jeff Gordon back to the front.
When I went to pick up throttle.
Scott Speed holding station in second. The other driver on that strategy Robbie Gordon has slipped to 14th, but good run for Scott Speed.
It is a good run for him.
Of course, when you're out in clear sailing, you can do that.
And you know, he mentioned Mark Martin. I'm going to be curious to see how he fares here on these tires, because again, the track's green. We got a new tire. You can't really rely on notes from the past. I'd say staying out on tires wouldn't be a bad thing. I'm just not real sure today.
Now, Dale Earnhardt Jr. had trouble on his pit stop. We're not aware of what, but he came out of the pits third from the tail end of the line. Matt, he's up to 34th now, but why was he so far back?
Mike, his biggest complaint, the car was just too tight. A number of adjustments when he was on pit road. Air pressure, track bar, and bungee cord. The biggest issue for Junior, the car kept jumping out of gear, so a crew member, when the stop was completed, climbed through the side window and attached a bungee cord so then Junior could wrap it around the gear shift to keep it in fourth. They made the 2 adjustments to try to free up the car. Junior says the car is better, but it's still slightly sliding the nose.
We've run 6 races, and that would be the 3rd time that this 88 car has had transmission problems. Remember at Bristol last week, they had to go to the back of the field because they changed transmissions race morning, and then he had transmission issues at Auto Club Speedway in Fontana.
And that's so uncharacteristic of Hendrick Motorsports. They build bulletproof equipment over there. I mean, they know when they got a problem. They got diagnostic equipment that will tell them there's something wrong with parts, pieces, x-ray it, magnaflux it. That makes no sense.
Now, one thing I've learned, Mike, and we had talked about this, is the fact that this new car seems to be harder on transmission when the car slams down on those chassis stops getting in the corner. But the only car out of the Hendrick stables we're documenting problems is Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Real quick before we go to Jeff, if you chassis dyno these things a lot of times, you can create transmission problems because they sit on the chassis dyno at an angle. And we had some issues back when with burning up the bearings in the transmission because the grease wasn't getting to the bearings. So, Jeff, what do you got, buddy?
Well, the thing I was going to bring out, Darrell, I don't understand a team not having a bungee cord already inside of a race car when you've been having issues. That used to be standard issue no matter what race car, where we were at. So you put a bungee cord in there, so if it happened, the driver could just reach over, grab the end of the bungee cord, untape it, and he can hook it himself. You didn't have to go in there and install it. It was already part of what I consider race procedure.
Yeah, Jeff, it was always hooked normally to the leg brace on the right side. That way you could just reach up there and throw it around the shifter. And this is a battle for third right here, no longer a battle. Denny Hamlin, we keep talking about him. He's marching his way to the front. He just goes by Jimmy Johnson for that third spot.
All the technology and all the millions of dollars that are spent to make these cars run fast. And you can fix your transmission problem for about, $5.99.
If even that.
I like the way this one's looking. More NASCAR on Fox coming up.
We're under caution. Scott Speed was having a great race. He stayed out on that last caution. He was running in 9th. Kyle Busch came up to pass him. And what happened was not an act of aggression, but what happened to Kyle Busch is he tried to dive under Scott Speed going in the corner, Darrell.
Yeah, well, that's what I was telling you earlier about. The hardest thing to do here is get in under somebody like that. Now, you see the 18's already. When he went across that transition there from asphalt to concrete, the car jumped sideways. But you're using so much brake right there to stay off the guy on the outside that you actually end up spinning yourself out. You'll see when he goes across that bump, the thing jumps side, or it's not a bump actually, it's just transition. Too much rear brake underneath somebody, that's what happens.
Scott Speed gave him plenty of room.
Yeah.
Scott Speed in the 82 was just a victim.
Unfortunately, Scott Speed, if he'd have been a little further up, he wouldn't even know what happened.
Yeah, he gave Kyle all the room in the world on the bottom of the racetrack. It's just the 18 would not stick going into the corner. Now, one of the cars that came in fact, the only one up among the front pack was Jimmy Johnson. Steve, why did they come in?
Mike, Jimmy Johnson said, I'm getting really tight in the center, especially when I'm getting back on the gas pedal. They raised the Panhard bar a full round, and they also, Mike, added a spring rubber into the right rear spring.
Matt?
Mike, they pushed the spring rubber in the right rear for Kyle Busch, the 18. Also, a little tug on the fender. He just did come on the radio and said that the 82 of Speed did not deserve that at all, and that was his mistake, and he apologizes.
And you feel bad about that, but I'm telling you, it's a product of this racetrack and how going off of that transition from the asphalt to concrete, got a lot of rear brake in these things. She jumped out from under him.
All right, 2 problems in the pits. Joey Logano too fast entering. He'll get a penalty and a tire violation on Matt Kenseth. So they'll go to the tail end of the longest line. Speaking of longest, here is the longest answer we've had yet for an Aflac trivia question. What drivers scored their first Cup win while driving for Rick Hendrick? Here you go. 8 of them. Jeff Bodine, Kenny Schrader, Jeff Gordon, Jerry Nadeau, Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch, Brian Vickers, and Casey Mears.
I think you look at Brian Vickers and Casey Mears, so far that's been their only Sprint Cup Series win.
Got one to go, boys.
Dick Berggren.
Kurt Busch riding in second position, started in second position, and he could be dangerous today. He's got a really strong race car that's handling well.
Ready for our Claret and Clear to Drive restart. Live Claret and Clear indoors and out. Jeff Gordon has led 43 laps today, and he's back out front.
The top 18 cars that's out there right now stayed out. In the perfect world for Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson, we'll go about 15 or 20 laps, get a caution, and they'll stay out then.
Yeah, I was just going to say that 2 car, and this is probably contradicting what people would think. That's the most improved car from last year to this year.
No question.
There was no free pass on that caution. There was nobody a lap down.
I think we're at 75 laps now. I think when we get to about the 150 lap mark, this track will be what these guys have been looking for. Those spring rubbers are the adjustment that you know you have if you get too tight.
Tough break for Matt Kenseth. You know, they had a pit road tire violation, so they should have restarted at the tail end of the longest line. They did not. So now Kenseth will have to serve a drive-through penalty under green.
And that could be about 2 laps. You can see the NASCAR official talking to Drew Blickensderfer, the crew chief for Matt Kenseth, and the rest of the crew there. But yeah, that probably at 30 miles per hour, with them out there running around here 20 seconds a lap, could be about 2 laps under green.
It was described as a tire violation. Don't have any further details. Big dust up there. Boy, Robbie Gordon getting together with Marcus Ambrose. And that almost created a pileup.
They're going to show you the black flag with the right front. White front. We're going to come inside.
Not good. Not good for the 17. Big
Steve?
Black flag.
Mike, I think what they're disputing, and I was watching Drew Blickensderfer, they're disputing that the tire never went out of the pit box. I think that's what their beef is with this call.
We'll show you what we have to support the call by the NASCAR officials as the tire rolls over to Jimmy Johnson's pit. It did go over the back line of their pit.
I don't know about that one, Larry.
But it did not go out onto
Didn't go out of the
pit
pits,
road.
no.
The rule is that the team has to be in control of the tire at all times.
Exactly. You know, we used to just roll them back to the wall. But we were having a lot of cars hit tires on pit road as they were leaving or coming in their boxes. NASCAR made a rule a little over a year ago that a crew member has to, he doesn't have to carry it, but it has to be in his control all the way back to the wall.
So the bad news for Matt Kenseth is he is now 1 lap down and at the tail end of the field. Good news is he's the only car a lap down, so a caution flag will catch him back up.
I'd say that's just an addition to some of the other bad news he has. The car isn't very good, to tell you the truth.
Here's a better angle of the Kenseth pit stop. He'll be off frame to the right, but you'll see the tire rolling, and nobody's got it.
You could see he rolled it right there, and you can't do that. That's the old rule.
Actually, you could see the guy looking for it. He didn't know where it was.
And honestly, that's a good rule they made, because we were seeing tires getting hit by cars, and they were out there bouncing around like basketballs a few years ago.
And the problem with rules like that, you know, the guy didn't do anything wrong other than he just didn't have his hands on the tire, and it was going back into the pit box. But a rule is a rule, and you can't just have rules for just everything.
And as he rolled it, there was nobody right there to catch it and take it to the wall. Now, he is in the free pass position in the DeWalt Ford, so he should get this lap back on our next caution.
Mike, we do need to mention that Scott Speed that was involved in that last caution, they did end up taking their car to the garage area for repairs. He joins Joe Nemechek, Dave Blaney, and Todd Bodine.
And what I should have said is you can have rules for everything. You just can't interpret them differently every time. And that's one that they have a pretty cut and dried explanation for.
Let's catch up with Casey Mears, running just outside the top 10. Krista?
That's right, Mike. Casey Mears said 2 years ago, I never thought I'd say I enjoy going to Martinsville. Casey Mears, one of the drivers who finished in the top 10 in both races last year. They stayed out on that last stop. They said right now the car is running really well. And Gil Martin just came on the radio and said, you're really fast right now, Casey.
Well, I think he's with a race team that really has a good program and a good package for here. Gil Martin and that Richard Childress team, this is the team that Clint Boyer has been with the last couple, 3 years. They've always run well here.
Kyle Busch has had a hard time getting past Paul Menard. Menard has given Kyle the bottom, but that gives Toyota not working as well as he would like. And you can see him exhibit a little frustration here with Reed Sorensen and Paul Menard.
Whoa.
So he got inside Menard, but it took him a long time to be able to complete that pass.
Well, when your car's not handling just right, and obviously his isn't, it must be a little loose on entry. When it's not handling right, it makes it hard to make passes.
Next week, a whole different ball game. Texas Motor Speedway for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series and NASCAR on Fox, the wide open spaces. And boy, that mile-and-a-half oval will look wide open after we leave Martinsville.
Oh, yeah. You got a man up there, boys. That's all you got to do there, just be able to stand on the gas.
One of the fastest tracks we go to.
Second place race. Slowly but surely. Denny Hamlin working toward the front, and Robbie Gordon's in trouble.
Flat
left
tire
rear down.
Yeah. Behind you.
And he's going to spin out, so that will bring the caution.
Caution's out.
Remember, Gordon hasn't stopped since lap 22, and he was trying to make it to the pit entry with a flat. Didn't get there.
It's going to be a good break, though, I think, for Matt Kenseth in that 17. We'll get a confirmation that I think he did get the free pass.
Boy, he was lucky to be able to go on pit road and only lose one lap. Hard for me to believe.
Get going here.
Closing them up under caution. Fourth caution flag of the day, counting the competition yellow that came out at lap 40. Joey Logano's first trip to Martinsville. Let's see how he assesses the paperclip in today's Home Depot rookie file.
Last time I was here, I was 12 years old in an Allison Legacy car, and you know, Donnie Allison and his guys, his boys build those cars. So I was 12 years old, and it's a long time ago for me, at least it was. And those cars are way different than Cup cars. So it's kind of like my first time here, but at least I've kind of been around it.
To get to know Joey better, go to HomeDepotRacing.com. Now here's the situation on the free pass. We had theorized that Matt Kenseth would get the free pass. However, it goes to the first car, one lap down. And Jeff Gordon had lapped Robbie Gordon, no relation, prior to the yellow flag coming out. So at the moment of yellow, Robbie Gordon was the first car one lap down. And because he brought out the caution, no free pass.
No free pass.
Let's go to the pits and Steve.
Brian Vickers in the top 10, Mike. He's saying his race car also tight in the center. They made a track bar adjustment. Also going to pull a piece of tape off the grill. He's been running just a little bit hot in that 83.
Here comes Carl Edwards in car number 99. He has struggled here at Martinsville, has never led a Sprint Cup lap at this racetrack. It's one of the most difficult tracks for him. He started in a good position today, but they've got to get that car right for him, and they haven't so far.
Quite a bit of jostling getting off pit road.
Boy, I'll say. Oh. Goodness.
Looks like we had about 16 to 17 cars that actually stayed out, including most of our leaders.
48 car came back down to pit road again. They're still working on that baby.
We're under caution for the 4th time today. Let's get downstairs for an AT&T race break.
All right, thanks, Mike. And Jeff Gordon has dominated so far, followed by Kurt Busch, Denny Hamlin. Just a quick recap, and the caution came out early as Michael Waltrip slips and slides, went a lap down, got in the way of some traffic, trying to advance. Clint Boyer, one of those, tapping with Michael on lap 32. Jeff Gordon dominated, as we mentioned. Rookie Scott Speed stayed out, led for a while until Jeff recaptured the lead. 79 laps and counting for Gordon led so far. The moments ago, Kyle Busch admitted it was his fault trying to pass. It was the 9th spot there. Scott Speed pushed, both wrecked, having an effect of the way things are. From the Hollywood Hotel, some observations early.
Well, right now we already been watching how dominant right now so Jeff Gordon's been, but the key thing I've been looking at is that Denny Hamlin, our winner from last year, he quietly sneaking up through there, guys like Clint Boyer hanging close. I think the racetrack's going to continue to change, and it's all going to come down if those crew chiefs can keep up with the racetrack changing and make the right adjustments. And don't forget the deuce. I mean the blue deuce, Kurt Busch,
who is running second. 3 leaders and 3 lead changes so far. If you want to vote for the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year award from your AT&T phone, text the car number for the crew you think will be the most valuable. The fan voting with Jeff Hammond will determine the winning crew each week, and your vote counts. Vote each week at the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year award as we send it back upstairs to Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Thanks, Chris. Getting ready for the restart. Matt Kenseth comes up the inside to start alongside Jeff Gordon. He is the first car a lap down.
Boy, Kenseth is just going to get there. He's a lap down on the inside. He just does get there.
But he should be in good shape when we get, and I say when we get our next caution, because he's the only car right now a lap down.
And he's up with Jeff Gordon instead of at the back of the pack. So as Jeff begins lapping traffic, Kenseth should be within striking distance and stay in the free pass position.
It's just so hard to keep from running into people here. You enter the corner at over 120 miles an hour and you stop, almost stop in the middle of the corner. So that's like running up to somebody at a stoplight when they're just about ready to accelerate forward and you're just about ready to stop, but sometimes you collide.
And the RPM range here, about 5,400 in the middle of the corner to 9,000 plus at the end of the straightaway. That's a long pull.
It's a drag race.
The thing about it, they roll out of the throttle well up on the straightaway, almost just past the start finish line, to let that thing roll in the corner, get on the brake, and then get back off the brake.
Oh, this was 3 wide. This looked bad in the middle of 1 and 2, and Kyle Busch, smart piece of driving there as he backed out of it so they wouldn't try to come off that corner 3 wide.
If you think it looks bad up here, you ought to be out there sometime.
It was Ambrose who took it to the bottom.
They just get kind of bottlenecked up right there and no place to go, and you get in the wrong line, you're going to lose a lot of spots.
And what was amazing is they're fighting for the concrete there. As you can see, that's asphalt, the upper 2 grooves. You don't want to get up there because there's a lot of rubber up there that'll get on your tires, make you think you got a flat. They were fighting for those 3 spots on the concrete.
We're going to take a minute to have a Martinsville hot dog or 2 or 3 and let you folks enjoy the sounds of speed here on Fox. Let's crank it up. Denny Hamlin and Kurt Busch found the track wasn't quite wide enough for both of them there.
Well, Hamlin's putting pressure on Busch, and he tried to get back on the throttle back here off turn 4 and jump sideways on him, open the outside up for Denny Hamlin to make the move.
And what's going to try to happen, Clint Boyer in that 33 car, he's going to try to take advantage of Denny Hamlin, open the door on the bottom.
These things, just with the low gear they have in them, when you touch that throttle, it's real easy to bust the rear end loose.
Joe Nemechek has taken his unsponsored Toyota to the garage. He'll finish 40th today. Jeff Gordon remains out front in the Goody's Fast Relief 500.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox, built by the Home Depot, is sponsored by Budweiser. Reach for the perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Budweiser, the great American lager.
Jeff Gordon has now led 100 of 113 laps. There's his lead over Denny Hamlin. It stands at 1.4 seconds. Clint Boyer, Tony Stewart, Kurt Busch are the top 5. When we last saw Dale Earnhardt Jr., he was trying to recover from a long pit stop for adjustments. Those adjustments have paid off. He just passed Marcus Ambrose in the 47 to move up to 9th.
Well, they definitely have overcome that pit stop where they had all the problems, but that was the last pit stop they had. They've actually stayed out the last 2 cautions, getting that track position.
Matt?
Mike, when they had their team meeting on Wednesday for 3 hours, one piece that they really wanted to work on was better communications as far as being descriptive back and forth from the driver to the crew chief on what the car is doing and how to fix it. That's exactly what they've been doing this race. Junior, very descriptive of what his car is doing. He says it is getting better, but after about 10 laps, it starts to slide the nose. He was telling Tony Jr., breaking it down almost through the corner, exactly what that car is doing. Running in the top 10, running well, but they still need to work on this car, free it up a little more.
Well, that's something that he needs to learn from Jimmy Johnson particularly. He and Chad Canals, the way they break a corner down. Entrance, middle, right here, right there. I mean, about 5 or 6 points through a turn that Jimmy gives to Chad to help him make those adjustments.
Yeah, in practice, Jimmy actually fills a form out that shows the entire racetrack.
There you go, man. Keep it up there. You'll get both these guys.
Pulling up on Jeff Burton. This will be for 8th place. How about Burton, Krista?
Well, Mike, Jeff Burton also choosing track position over tires. He has only come in 1 time, and that is because his car is very good on the long runs. All he's really said is he still needs it to turn just a little bit better.
I just heard Tony Jr. call Dale Jr. Daddy-O. Now, that's old school right there.
Wow.
When's the last time somebody said Daddy-O?
About 1959.
Yeah. Now, if he starts calling him Cat Daddy here in a little while, we can know he's making some progress.
Now, Jeff Gordon has led 106 laps, almost all of this race. He's only not led 13 laps, and most of those were under caution. So how does he keep up with what everybody else is doing with exchanges like this?
Looking real good. We kind of just got to stick with our strategy. You know, those guys keep trying to get us upside down back there. Hopefully it'll run long enough here that it'll all even out.
Making any gains through there?
No. People that come pit, all they do is tear their stuff up, man. Nobody's moving up through there like making anything happen.
And basically what he's saying is those guys are coming in getting tires, but they're not going anywhere. So don't let those guys coming in getting tires affect our game plan.
The top 12 cars, they have not been to pit road since lap 43. Now, when I look back there, Mark Martin in the 5 car, his teammate, he's one guy that did pit on that last caution that's making hay with those 4 fresh tires. And then the guy right in front of him, David Streamy in the 12, he was last on pit road on the 3rd caution at lap 71. So that's 2 cars that have made advantages out of coming to pit road.
Jimmy Johnson finding himself a long way back at 125 laps into this race. Steve?
And Mike, he restarted 25th after the most recent caution. They just have not been able to get the car to handle the way Jimmy Johnson wants it to. He's been saying the car is tight from the start of the race. Chad Canals just asking for patience.
Well, and I think the patience he's asking for is what Darrell pointed out a while ago. This racetrack is going to change. I'm already starting to see the corners turn up much blacker with rubber than they were when this race started.
And one of the things that's kind of worrying me a little bit, people keep talking about Little Rock and going to Little Rock and testing. I think if you're going down there just to shake your car down, that might be all right. But don't go down there and get led down the wrong path thinking that's going to help you here at Martinsville. I just don't think they're comparing apples to apples.
And I think Jimmy Johnson actually told us that on Friday. He said, if you're going down there to A-B things, great. Don't go down there to fine-tune for Martinsville.
Mark Martin in the 5 trying to move up on David Stremme. Meanwhile, Jeff Gordon is about to get into lap traffic, and that means that Matt Kenseth will no longer be the first car or only car 1 lap down.
I'm just watching that 24 car and the 11 and the 33. Those first 3 cars, their separation has remained the same. But I also believe that Jeff Gordon is kind of keeping an eye on that rear view mirror and keeping that little gap between he and the 11 car. I don't think you'll know how good that 24 is until you have to know. Uh-oh, we got a car up into the wall.
It is Gilliland, David Gilliland,
Turn
California
4
driver.
here. Got a tire down.
He gets away, and we'll try to. He gets to the bottom, so he can come around to pit road for that right front.
The right front.
No caution.
Matt Kenseth was hoping he was not going to get to the bottom. He was hoping for a caution.
Jeff Gordon beginning to get into lap traffic. We're a quarter of the way in Martinsville. Denny Hamlin grabs the lead from Jeff Gordon, but the caution, I think, was already out for Robbie Gordon up in turn number 2.
David Reagan and Robbie Gordon had a coming together, 6 and 7.
And Jeff Gordon retains the lead. While we were away, another driver had a right front tire go down. That was Eric Almirola. More on that in a bit. David Gilliland has also gone laps down, and Gordon has now taken on 5th in the all-time list of lap leaders at Martinsville Speedway. He passes Fred Lorenzen and now stands behind Cale Yarborough, Rusty Wallace, Darrell Waltrip, and Richard Petty on the all-time list of lap leaders here.
Now, pit road is closed right now. They actually just opened it up. I'm sure all the leaders will be to pit road, including Jeff Gordon, Denny Hamlin, because they have not been there since lap 42, and here most of the leaders come.
And again, Matt Kenseth does not get the free pass. It goes to Scott Riggs, who was just lapped by the leader before the caution. Matt.
33 of Boyer. His guys on the wall waiting for him to come in. Slight chassis adjustment as he enters third. Still a little snug off. They're going to make an air pressure change on both left side tires. Krista.
Tony Stewart saying he had about 2/3 of a good run. They had planned on making an air pressure adjustment. They are doing that, and also 2 rounds out of the left rear for Stewart. Dick.
Jeff Gordon pits. He is up front. And there's the race for who's going to be leading it, and it looked like Gordon at the line.
It was close.
I think it's Hamlin, actually, by just about an inch.
One driver who got caught in the pits was the number 1 of Martin Truex. He had to back up to get around the car parked in front of him, which was Ryan Newman. Our scoring shows Jeff Gordon and 2 fast entering the pits, Martin Truex and Kyle Busch. They will go to the tail end of the longest line for the restart. 2 drivers had unscheduled stops for right front tires going down, David Gilliland and Eric Almirola. Were those tires cut, or did they have a problem overheating the bead? Jeff Gordon, yeah, him too. Not Jeff Gordon. Jeff Hammond can tell us more in today's State Farm Safety Report.
At Martinsville, it's always about the brakes. You see how we cool them, trying to keep these 1100-degree rotors as cool as possible to keep from boiling the fluid, losing the brakes entirely. Well, there's another part that we've got to try to keep cool. We try to blow air up through these hoses to the bead of the tire. That's right, inside the rim where all the heat is coming up through and radiating, you cannot afford to have a failure with the bead. You have a flat tire that way, you may lose a race car, and I'm not blowing hot air when it comes to that.
Thanks, Jeff. Let's have a look at what put us under caution for the 5th time here today. David Reagan, the 6, Robbie Gordon, the 7. That's Gordon ahead, the yellow car, and Reagan on the right.
Oh, Robbie's tire went down. He just shot up into the 6 car. I was just trying to stop from laughing from Hammond's final remark there about hot air.
Jeff, Darrell and I both had a line. We just didn't know which one of us was going to use it.
We'll save it for during commercial. We'll send him a Martinsville hot dog.
There you go.
Ready to go with our Claritin Clear to Drive restart. Get Claritin Clear, get back to feeling like yourself again.
You know, one thing that really helped Denny Hamlin's pit stop, he's pitted over there in the corner, but that 71 car of David Gilliland is pitting in front of him. He was not there because he's not on the lead lap, so that really helped their pit stop.
Looks like Hamlin's got maybe a little bit better car on the long run, Larry. He chased Jeff down there as they were working traffic just before that caution came out. We'll see if they made some more adjustments and picked him up a little on this short haul here.
Because it had been a while since we had a caution and a while since everyone had been to pit road, that kind of evened everybody out. Everybody pitted that time for tires and fuel.
Carl Edwards trying to clear Gilliland and Matt Kenseth, who just can't be in the right position for the caution to fall his way and get back on the lead lap. But long way to go. 355 laps left to run here at Martinsville.
And when you're leading a race here like Jeff Gordon is, it is so much easier on the car, on the brakes. You're getting plenty of air to your brakes, keep them cool. You can back off, let it roll down in the corner. Now Hamlin, on the other hand, he's going to charge hard to try to get a nose up there under Jeff and let him know he's there. And he's going to use up a lot more car doing that.
What, Tony Stewart in that 14 car, he just muscled that third spot away from Kurt Busch in the 2. Just drove by him and drove away from him.
Now Clint Boyer came into the pits in 3rd place, but he came out about 12th. Here's why. Dropped a lug nut.
Yep, saw it flying through there. I'm surprised he doesn't have one on his glove or one in his mouth or somewhere.
And then a little hard getting out of the pits alongside Allmendinger.
Good thing the 18 had his right side tires already changed.
Yeah. Boyer's now 12th.
Yeah, we see more cars beating and banging on pit road almost here at Martinsville than we do on the racetrack. See right there, lost 11 spots. They're precious seconds when you're sitting on the jack on pit road.
I'm watching the lap times of those first 2 cars, the 24 and the 11. They're matching lap times pretty close, but they're also running about 3 or 4 tenths quicker right now than they were before the caution came out.
Denny Hamlin has not led a lap today. I think that's about to change.
But he's getting in the corner so good, and the car still turns. He can still run the bottom, getting in there as hard as he's getting in there.
Well, Jeff showed me the brake package that they're running on all the Gibbs cars this weekend, Larry. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite as a work of art as the brakes that they have on these Gibbs cars here this weekend. Unbelievable.
And they're taking advantage of it, at least for right now.
But right now, that 11 car is using max brakes. He's not getting a lot of air to the brakes, and he's using a lot of brakes, blowing that thing up, getting in the corner.
You think you're going to sit there and worry and harass Jeff Gordon till he makes a mistake? You've got a long wait.
He will be pretty flawless around this half-mile racetrack.
And what he does to you, I've seen it for years, he'll get the 11 car to the point where he'll say, okay, I can't get by you, so I'm just going to have to follow you.
But what's happening, and Darrell, you mentioned it earlier, Jeff Gordon's getting off the corner better than the 11. 11's getting in there better, maybe through the middle, but right there, look, he'll pull him about a car length on the exit of the corner, which carries all the way down the straightaway.
Hamlin just needs to back off, quit driving in so hard.
Juan Montoya got a little tired of John Andretti down in turn number 2, moved Andretti out of the groove, no caution, just pushed him up the racetrack and moved that lap car out of the way.
This is one of those tracks, as I watch these 2 cars, where you can slow yourself down just ever so slightly and go a lot faster.
Montoya and Stremme racing hard, trying to stay with Jimmy Johnson when John Andretti comes almost to a halt in the middle of the corner, and Montoya's momentum carries him into Andretti harmlessly up the racetrack.
Carl Edwards may have a problem.
And you know, he just had made his way to the top 5. They were way off when this race started and fell way back. Now he had worked his way back up, but he's lost a couple of spots. Here comes a battle for the lead. Denny Hamlin finally got to the inside of Jeff Gordon in the 24. Watch Hamlin drive it down into turn 1 here, though.
Yeah, and also don't look back, but there's another car, a red car, coming in the picture that looks awfully strong as well.
Oh, Tony Stewart's loving these guys running side by side.
If Gordon doesn't tuck in line, Stewart will be the 2nd place car.
Whoa! Now that's one thing Tony Stewart will do. He will tell you he's there.
Jeff almost waited too late to get to the bottom.
Toyota top performers at this point in the race, 157 laps in,
drive away from him.
with Denny Hamlin coming to the lead for the first time today. Jeff Gordon has dominated to this point. Denny Hamlin goes to the front. Can he pull away?
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing, built by the Home Depot, is sponsored by Ask.com. Where do NASCAR fans get answers? Ask.com, the official search engine of NASCAR. By Napa Auto Parts. Napa, get the good stuff. And by AT&T, your world delivered.
Denny Hamlin has led the last 11 laps of this race, taking over for Jeff Gordon, who led 141. Gordon now under fire from Tony Stewart for second. Here's a question from Ask.com, official search engine of NASCAR. When did the Busch brothers last win back-to-back races? The answer is at Ask.com, where you can enter the Ask.com NASCAR Challenge for a chance to win daily prizes and a trip to Talladega.
You know, Larry, we watched these first three guys, the 11, the 24, and the 14. They got the two back there, not too far behind this little group right here is the 29 of Kevin Harvick, but the 88 car, who has been mostly at the rear of the field, all of a sudden is working his way up here to the top 5.
He's got a good race car. You know, he's led the most laps in the last 2 spring races here. Just didn't go to victory lane with that 88 or the 8 2 years ago.
The thing is really rolling the center well. I've been watching him, and he really gets through the center of the corner, and that's something drivers really complain about here. I think he's got that part down pat.
Now, is Denny Hamlin just that much quicker than Jeff Gordon, or is Gordon starting to back up as he deals with Tony Stewart here for second place? We listened in on the 24 team just before Hamlin passed him for the lead.
If I do let him go, I'm going to let him know it, because if he touches me again, I'm going to knock his head off.
Don't you just love this place?
See, Jeff don't like for you to bump around on him. It just doesn't go over well with him, because he generally doesn't do that to people.
I think he should have paid closer attention, though, to Jeff Hammond in the pre-race. Patience, patience, patience now.
What's the mood down there, Dick?
Well, in Jeff Gordon's pit, the mood's not too good because the car has gone way tight, particularly from entry to the middle of the corner. And just before he had his conversation about his fellow competitor, Gordon said that the car is nowhere near as good as it was at the beginning of the race. So they should be able to adjust it and get him back to where he was.
And that's what we expected. Where are we here? We're 172 laps. We said around 150 laps, this track would go through a dramatic change. Some of those guys have already made the adjustments. Some have put spring rubbers in. Some have made some air pressure adjustments. I don't know if they did that on the 24 or not. Maybe not.
And I think it will go through one more major transition. You'll start to almost see rubber build up at the bottom of the racetrack, and that's going to change it again, too, probably with about 150 to 200 laps to go.
Well, remember Letarte said we're not going to listen, and paying attention to what all those other guys are doing? That might have been a mistake.
We'll see. Now, Dale Earnhardt Jr. has moved past Kevin Harvick, so Jr. is up in the top 5. Used to be you'd run passenger car brakes here with bigger pads, but Jeff Hammond, my, how things have changed in the braking department.
It really has, Mike, and we've been talking about the Gibbs Racing organization and how they're running a brand new brake package, this time by Raybestos. This is what these guys have got on those cars right at the moment. Raybestos brakes, in conjunction with Alcon, have come up with this new package. This is the first time that they're running it here in a competition in Martinsville. Now, they've run it a lot during the off-season at other racetracks, but everybody knows this is the ultimate test that you go through when it comes to brakes. And the biggest difference has to be, look at the comparison. This is a front caliper compared to the last old-style caliper. A pound and a half lighter on both front as well as rear. This is the lightest, as well as has the biggest rotor surface and brake pad surface of anybody out there racing today. So these guys can really charge the corner, be aggressive, and we're going to find out whether or not they've got the best brakes in the business by the end of this race. So far, they're looking pretty sporty.
They really are, Jeff. But Larry, I looked at that package. I don't know how they get all that inside the wheel. It's amazing how much stuff they have packed inside the wheels, and those brakes are unbelievable. They pay more for a set of brakes for one wheel than we used to pay for all 4 wheels.
And that's the limitations on the brakes on a Sprint Cup Series car, is how much room you have there. But when I look at all the things that has changed on our race cars racing here at Martinsville, the guys probably are not making that much more power than they did 2 or 3 years ago. We know the aerodynamics on this car versus our old car probably a little worse. Where did the gains come from? Brakes.
Right. This is one area that NASCAR and Formula One have in common, limiting the diameter of the wheel to control the brake technology. Formula One still runs a 13-inch diameter wheel. NASCAR runs the same 15-inch diameter wheel that came on the 1965 Ford Galaxy.
I think they're looking hard at changing that, though. I think Goodyear is in the process of maybe trying to develop a different tire size for Cup cars. We've been running this same wheel since the series, since racing, NASCAR racing started. It's probably the only thing on the car we haven't changed.
You know, Darrell, at the earlier part of the race, you talked about the 2 team being maybe the most improved team from 2008. When I look at that 44 car, I think that may be the most improved driver going into 2009. A.J. Allmendinger comes in here 16th in the points. He's in the top 35, and he's cracking on the door of the top 10. In fact, that moves him to the top 10 as he goes by Jeff Burton.
And keep in mind, at the start of the season, he just barely had a ride. They said, we're going to run a few races and see what we can put together. He didn't even have a full season commitment.
They just finally got sponsorship put in place to run him at least through the end of May, looking for more to keep running this car full time.
Well, a performance is an indicator. They should get it. Matt?
Mike, his confidence and his good nature and humor is infectious as the entire 44 team, and it's showing. 17th or better in 3 of 5 races this year. On the grid, I asked him, of your habits, what's the one that concerns you the most here at Martinsville on this short track? He says simply, my style is to overdrive, barrel it into the corner, and I've got to watch that here at Martinsville. And then he jokingly turned to Sammy Johns and said, and please, I don't want to hear it all today. Over 500 laps, save your brakes. Sammy told me on lap 75 he'd said it 10 times.
Well, that's the, whoa, did you see what happened there with the car trying to, 19, Elliott Sadler trying to get to pit road, and it really hindered Jeff Gordon. He was right in front of him.
No caution as Sadler appeared to cut down a tire in
No, that's
2.
another right front, and you got to believe that's brake heat, causing those right fronts to go down like that.
That's the downside of bigger, better brakes. It's normally more heat.
You know the other downside, when I look at those great big brakes, who's going to use those brakes? The driver. And I'm going to tell you something. You end up using both legs, both feet here before the race is over with. You wear out your left leg, do the right one.
Same song, next verse, Joey Logano.
And I don't think he's going to be able to get down to the entrance of pit road. He's, oh boy, he just squeezed in there.
Right in front of Jeff Gordon again.
All your green lights.
Now here's the other component.
Sorry about that. Did you just hear what he told him? And I just want to follow up on it real quickly. Watch all your green lights on pit road. That's his lights on his dash to tell him he's at pit road speed.
Okay. The other component is NASCAR continues to run steel wheels, not the alloy wheels in other racing series. That's because when you bump the wall, a steel wheel will bend and hold the bead, whereas alloy wheels tend to explode. That would create a much bigger problem, but steel wheels conduct a lot of heat. Closing in on 200 laps, 40% distance in NASCAR Sprint Cup racing for Martinsville, built by the Home Depot. Denny Hamlin, the race leader. Hamlin's been out front for 42 laps as Eric Almirola has another right front tire go flat. This is his second unscheduled stop.
Yeah.
Now we're getting confirmation that this is not the tire actually going flat on the tread, that they are cooking the beads that we were talking about with Jeff Hammond a while ago. But if you notice, it's normally cars that are running at the back of the pack that maybe have handling issues because you'll use more brake when your car's not driving good.
Yeah, and if you notice, it's a right front. And that was one of my points about, I don't know how they pack all that stuff inside that wheel. There's no room in there for air. I mean, those things are just packed in there as tight as you can get them. It just holds that heat in there and cooks the tire.
Remember the old playground game? Well, they still play it. It's an old game, but they still play it. Dodgeball. Watch the 24 of Jeff Gordon as 2 of these cars that had tire problems try to get down to pit road. The black car on the outside, Elliott Sadler, cuts right in front of Jeff Gordon to try to get to the one and only entrance to pit road at turn 3. And then not long after, here comes Gordon again as Joey Logano needs to get to pit road right in front of Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, I was looking where Jeff Gordon was when Eric Almirola was trying to get there, but he wasn't nowhere near him.
And in both cases, Kurt Busch gave Gordon enough room to get slowed up, and they still run just about a car length or 2 apart.
Just saw David Gilliland in the 71 car. That's a car that had a right front issue earlier, and he may have another one on that car.
You know,
2 for Almirola, 2 for Gilliland.
Another thing that's adding to this problem to some degree, that the rubber is starting to build up in the middle of the turns here. It's what I call the Martinsville rash. It just kind of bumps rubber, big clods of rubber build up, and that's what all that right in there is. And when your car hits that, it slips. But it'll actually make the car slide to right front. If you've already got that thing hot and cooking, you slide it across those bumps, it blows it out.
I've been watching Juan Pablo Montoya, who, as we mentioned, 7 Formula One wins. Now he's a NASCAR regular. But watch his line, Darrell. He's adopted a classic road race line. Late entry into the corner, late apex, and he's still staying just ahead of Labonte as Kyle Busch is up to the wall in turn 1.
Keep corner. Watch this 11.
I don't think he hit it.
No, he didn't.
Get what you can.
He didn't hit the wall, but he almost got run over.
Be ready, boys.
And he's shredded to right front.
I just think all that brake heat is, I mean, obviously that's what we're having issues with here.
Now, Kyle was really having to step it up because his teammate, Denny Hamlin, was not that far behind him from putting him a lap down. You can see right there the car just goes straight. That's about as close as you can come to hitting the wall, but not actually hit it.
And of course, here at Martinsville, we don't, on a short track like this, we don't run an interliner. So you, when you cut a tire down, you're right down on the rim.
He got a few wheel marks on the right side, but I don't believe he scraped the wall there.
Sure doesn't look like it. The right front looks pretty good.
They're going to go ahead and take the time to go ahead and put 4 tires and fill that thing up with fuel.
He's going to go at least 2 and maybe 3 laps down total.
What these cars that are having these problems, what they would hope is maybe it'll go a long green run here and the green flag stops will cycle through.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox, built by the Home Depot, is sponsored by FedEx Racing. We understand every day is race day. By Toyota, moving forward. And by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer.
Denny Hamlin leads Tony Stewart by 1.1 seconds. Jeff Gordon, Kurt Busch, and now Carl Edwards has moved up into the top 5. We've completed 215 laps. Beginning April 11th, Fox Saturday Baseball returns. Red Sox take on the Angels, whose 22-5 record this spring leads the Cactus League and Major League Baseball. Fox Saturday Baseball Game of the Week, or you'll see the Twins battle the White Sox or the Astros against the Cards. Great matchups in high definition, only on Fox. Check your local listings for the game and start time in your area.
Here's a guy right here that's been coming to the front. I mean, just quietly and slowly picking them off one at a time. That's 99 car, Carl Edwards. He just got around Dale Jr. Carl's got a really good car right now on the long run. His car looks really good, and he's getting up off a corner straight. He's coming to the front.
Yeah, he started 5th by virtue of the way the field was set when qualifying got rained out. He fell out of the top 10 early, but has worked his way back in.
Buddy, race that racetrack.
Now that's the only Ford in the top 10. The next one is Jamie McMurray in 15th. Right behind him, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Here's Matt.
Dale Jr. was 2nd last fall, Mike. Right now he currently runs in the 6th position. Dale Jr. says he needs a little bit more free feeling in the center of the corner without losing any of the forward bite. Just more information for Tony Jr. to dissect on top of the pit box when they hit pit road the next time, what direction they want to go next. But currently making big headway on this 88 machine.
And that's a tightrope because you don't want to hurt that grip off the corner. That's what launches you down that straightaway. But as we've seen a lot of cars that are good, you've got to rotate and roll through the middle.
Yeah, that's probably the worst thing a crew chief could hear, because if you fix his complaint, it's going to create another one. So you got to look at the options here and what's the lesser of the evils.
Carl Edwards, a 99. He's going to pull to the inside of Kurt Busch in a 2. This would be a battle for 4th, but Kurt will fight back on the high side.
I think he'll let him go. Carl's car is really, really good right now. It's coming through the middle of the corner. He gets great forward bite right here up off the corner.
And on the right, the battle for 10th is Allmendinger and Rudeman. Continue their battle with Brian Vickers looking in, and behind Vickers, Jimmy Johnson.
You know, people ask me about David Rudeman and can he stay in the top 12. I have been so impressed with the job that he and his team are doing. He's sitting here, he just got knocked out of the top 10. Yeah, I think they can stay in the top 12. They're that good.
Seems to be running well at all types of racetracks. Brian Vickers in the 83, he's going to take that position away, and you can about bet that 48 car, they may have gotten off, but they will be a player, I think, before the day's out, Steve.
And Larry Mack, they are starting to make some progress. Jimmy restarted 25th way back on lap 95. They are saying that the car, Jimmy is saying the car's still a little bit tight, but Larry, they are making progress.
Catch up on some other folks as Tony Stewart and Jeff Gordon battle for that second spot. Gordon takes it back. Let's get word from Tony's pit. Krista?
Well, Mike, Tony Stewart says the key here is learning how to protect his car. He said it's a suit of armor, but here's the thing. You have to wear it gingerly. As much as it protects, you must be patient. Learning patience basically out of necessity. And isn't this quintessential Tony? He said he didn't want to be patient. He just learned he had to be.
And you learn the hard way sometimes here at Martinsville.
A few other stories we've been watching. Matt Kenseth still has not been able to get in the free pass position. He is still one lap down as a result of that pit road penalty. Kyle Busch had to come in for a flat tire. And our most recent winner on the tour, it remains 2 laps down after that. And Scott Speed is back on track after spinning into the turn 4 wall, but 71 laps down.
You know how come Tony Stewart has learned to be patient all of a sudden? He's starting to see the virtues of being patient versus owning a team and how much it costs to keep operating it.
We see teammates here. Clint Boyer in the 33. He just went by Kevin Harvick in the 29. And I think what we're seeing now, we're starting to see the handling go away on some cars because we've almost been going 100 laps. Is that what happened in the 29, Matt?
Absolutely, Larry Mack. His last report to his team was the car's a little loose on entry. It's tight rolling through the center. His biggest issue after that, though, he needs a lot more forward bite like so many other drivers. As we're reaching the halfway point of this race, you're hearing more and more guys having issue on exit.
One of those is Juan Montoya, who skated way up toward the turn 2 wall a lap ago. Now he's hung on the outside of Mayfield and Menard. And he's just lost the drive up off the corner. The car not making the transition in mid-corner from brake to throttle.
No, he's spinning the tires almost as he exits the corner. You can see the back end almost hung out like it's on dirt.
And he just lost a lap to our leader, Denny Hamlin. So right now, we have 24 cars on the lead lap, and that's the problem that Matt Kenseth has. You can see Denny Hamlin just keeps putting other cars a lap down.
Boy, I tell you one thing about Juan. When he gets in trouble, when he starts falling back and his car falls off a little bit, he gets a little bit aggressive.
Well, I said last week on Claire Boulang's Sirius show after the race, Montoya for part of that race was a bull and Bristol was his China
Still
shop.
Gonna be out there. Still going to be outside.
I think McMurray would agree with that.
Yeah.
You know, Montoya has 4 starts here at Martinsville, and he's completed every single lap of those 4 races, but now he is 1 lap down in this race.
18 laps to halfway in the Goody's Fast Relief 500. Denny Hamlin took the lead, and he's done a great job of holding on to it so far.
Time for an AT&T race break. NASCAR on Fox, and we're live in Virginia here at Martinsville. Lap 241, and Denny Hamlin, the native Virginian, whose last win was here last year. Your leader ahead of Jeff Gordon. Carl Edwards has moved up to 3rd, followed by Tony Stewart and Dale Earnhardt Jr. With Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers observing the racing so far. And how about inside the top 10? Mark Martin currently running 9th.
And that's where that veteran experience kind of comes into play, Chris. He started way back in the back. He knew how hard he needed to run. Great pit calls, kept him up there where he needed to go. Now he finds himself up there in the 9th position and realizing he's won 2 races here in the past, so he knows how to get around here.
And Rick Hendrick wanting a decision by July if the full-time ride will continue with Mark Martin. And Brian Vickers, 3 top 10s in his last 4 races coming in.
Another guy that just kind of like he won't go away today. I mean, he's started a little bit on the slow side, worked his way up in the top 10, fell back a little bit, but again, they continue to kind of like dog everybody just outside the top 10, trying to get up there to challenge guys like Jimmy Johnson, for example.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. moving up to 4th ahead of Tony Stewart. Now he started 19th, and we know that in the last 2 spring races, even though he hasn't won, Jr. has led the most laps in each of those races.
I know he has, but right now, as I pointed out earlier, the fact I think they may be lacking some components on top of that pit box today so far has been an excellent day for all the right calls. But as this racetrack changes, this is where I think we're going to find out whether or not, you know, all this chitter chatter about Dale Jr. and Tony Stewart Jr., whether they're going to make a difference today the right adjustments right now about halfway through this race.
In the 88 car. Now, Carl Edwards third. He did not practice well. We know qualifying was rained out, but he's still looking for that first win of the year.
Yeah, still looking for that first win of the year, but he's also looking to try to rebound from a really bad race here in the fall. He finished up in the top 10 in the spring race here a year ago, but this is a racetrack I think that worries Carl. He's really been, struggling. It's good to see him kind of up there right now in third place.
Nearing the halfway point, Jeff Gordon running second has led the most laps so far, 141. From your AT&T phone, text the car number for the pit crew you think will be the fastest and most valuable in this race to 2258. The AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year award delivered by AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. Let's rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
And you know, Mike, Larry, one of the things that you have to learn when you go to Hendrick Motorsports, you got to buy in to the multi-car team situation. You got to be willing to share information. You got to be willing to listen to your teammates. You got to be willing to do what they say, use their setups, use their strategies. And that takes a little bit of getting used to for a guy that's maybe like Tony Jr. and Dale Jr., who've kind of been out on an island by themselves for a long time. I think they're going to get this thing turned around. I have all the confidence in the world in Rick Hendrick, and he says he knows what the problems are now, and he thinks he can fix them.
But the thing that he told you in that pre-race piece that I just love, Darrell, is if you're going to make a move, you've got to have a plan in place. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize. The fans are just saying, you need to get rid of Tony Eury Jr., you need to get rid of him. Okay, fine. Who do you want to put in there?
That's right.
Got to get that worked out as Jimmy Johnson moves up to 8th. Denny Hamlin now leads Jeff Gordon by 3.5 seconds. That's hard to do at Martinsville. It is the biggest lead that anybody's enjoyed all day from the start-finish line. Let's show you what that's like. There's the gap. 3.5 seconds. Just about the length of a straightaway here.
Now here's what's interesting. We just crossed the halfway point, 251 laps in the books, 249 to go. Our last caution number 5, was on lap 138. We restarted on 142, so we've been racing well over 100 green flag laps. Remember, my FedEx understanding the race, the trends, the patterns, the average over the last 8 races of a green flag run has been 77 laps here. The longest we've had in those 8 races has been 117, so we're going to get, I think, another 20 or 25 laps in the green flag pit stops.
Not if Eric Almirola can help it. He's up in turn 4 with another right front tire. This is the 3rd time for the 8 car.
In less than 100 laps. Yep. And you can see right there that the right front is almost off the rim. He's going to squeeze down to the bottom, but it's hard because you got the line of cars coming.
He may have a shot right here after
2 more,
Riggs.
1 more, come down now, come down now.
But caution has waved.
82's down here on this end as well.
6th caution flag of the day.
That was a huge break for Michael Waltrip, the 55, because our leader, Denny Hamlin, was just about to put him a lap down. Real close.
David Stremme should be the recipient of the free pass. Boy, there's not much left to the back of Scott Speed's car after he drove an inspired race to hang with the leaders after not pitting at lap 43 with most of them, and he got turned into the fence, and it's been downhill from there. The right front's down.
I'm not going to say it's a rookie problem, but rookies tend to have more problems here than guys that have raced here a number of times. Right. Rookies have a tendency to use the brakes more than veteran drivers do. So some of these guys, they just don't have the experience to know how to stay off the brakes.
And a review of scoring shows that Denny Hamlin had lapped Michael Waltrip just prior to the caution coming out. So Waltrip is the free pass car rather than David Stremme.
They just made Michael actually stop on the back straightaway and let the pace car and the 11 go back by him, which signifies now there you see him a lap down, so he'll get that free pass.
Now, Michael appeared to be ahead when the caution flag came out, but remember NASCAR has scoring loops at various locations around the track, and when the yellow waves, your position is locked in as of the last loop that you passed. So once that caution waves, there's no way to improve your position.
But he must be pretty good because he got behind, got that lap down early. Now he's fought his way back and he's going to be on the lead lap, so car must not be too bad.
Well, pit road is open, and gosh, it's been a while.
She'll be busy with, I know for sure, all 20 cars that are on the lead lap.
Here they come to pit road. Let's begin with Steve.
Well, Mike, as you noted, Jimmy Johnson getting a little bit better now inside the top 10. Chad Canals telling him to turn his brake fans off. They're going to get 4 brand new tires for Jimmy Johnson. His car has gone from tight to snug. That's an improvement. 1 turn in the right rear, Matt.
His teammate, Dale Earnhardt Jr., hits his marks, easy entry, and he'll have an easy exit. There's no car in front. He's currently in the 4th position. Said the car was tight earlier, but now neutral, Dick.
Hamlin pits out of the lead. They're going to make a minor track bar adjustment in the car to try to help him get off the corner better. He has not won a sprint car race for a full Sprint Cup race for a full year, and that win happened right here at Martinsville.
And Mike, the reason you turn those brake fans off when you come in the pits, you don't want to blow all that brake dust in the tire changer's eyes.
I'll tell you who had an awesome pit stop, Chad Canals in that 48 car, and I think a lot had to do with pit selection.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is built by Home Depot. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot.
Under caution for the 6th time today. Excuse me.
What are you doing, Mike?
It's my 3rd hot dog of the day. And coming off pit road, Denny Hamlin, Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Here's today's Ford Drive 1 moment. Teammates Dale Jarrett and Ricky Rudd battle to the finish. Jarrett passes Rudd with 6 laps to go, goes on to win his only Martinsville win. It came in his 30th start here. Most starts before winning at Martinsville for any driver. Ford swept the top 3 spots as Jeff Burton took 3rd. And if you want to win a Ford Fusion, log on to WeRaceUWin.com and see how.
And Mike, speaking of Fords, I'd like to say hi to Earl Brooks. He used to drive the number 26 Ford back in the late 60s, a really good competitor in the Cup Series. I know he's not doing all that great, but Earl, I know you're watching. Get well, buddy, and thanks for watching.
And at Fox, we'd like to extend our condolences to the family of George Pacheco, who passed away last week at the age of 81. George survived by his wife and 3 children, including his son Lars, a longtime member of our NASCAR on Fox crew. And our prayers and encouragement go out to truck engineer Mark DeMellon, whose father's recovering from a severe medical procedure up in Pennsylvania. And a mighty voice was silenced here at Martinsville Speedway. Lewis Compton, the longtime public address announcer at this speedway, his booming voice, I think, could be heard all the way up in Collinsville.
Yep.
When he announced over the PA at this racetrack, passed away over the winter. And just another of those who will be missed, along with T. Taylor Warren, the track photographer, who is memorialized today by a lot of the still photographers wearing his trademark yellow hat. Both the still photogs and some of our NASCAR on Fox cameramen looking a lot like T. Taylor as they shoot this race today. What a great photographer he was, with a career that spanned the length and breadth of the history of NASCAR. Ready for the restart, with the lineup looking much the same as it did, except for Carl Edwards, whose tire changer hung a lug nut on the right front, and he lost 9 spots in the process. There's Edwards lined up in 11th.
But they did it the right way. They stayed there till they got that lug nut put back on, and he only lost about 8 spots in the process.
Let's crank it up for this restart at lap 264. Darrell, one thing about restarts, when you get past halfway, those lap cars get a lot harder to dispense with.
Yeah, well, they're in the preferred. They have the preferred line right around the inside. So you've got to try to figure out how to either get under them off the corner or they give you enough room to get around them on the outside. It makes it very, very. You've got to anticipate so much on a track like this. You got to anticipate that guy going so that you be just a tick ahead of him so you can get by him.
I know who has the preferred package right now, though, is Denny Hamlin, because he's clicking the fastest lap that he has run in this race here in the lap 265 to 268 range.
And look who else just turned his fastest lap of the race. Third place, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Now, Tony Stewart has dropped back to 7th in the running order. Krista?
Well, on that run, Mike, Tony actually, remember on the previous run, he said he was about 2/3 of the way happy. Well, that was a better run for him. But about 85 laps in, he started losing forward bite. He thought he wanted the car to turn better. He changed his mind right before that stop. He said, forget about the rotation. I need the bite. They made an air pressure adjustment to try to give Tony more grip.
And I think that goes back to what Dale Earnhardt Jr. was saying a while ago. I think what Tony was so afraid of is they'd help the car turn better, but would hurt him off the corner. And you can't stand to lose that bite off the corner.
2 cars in front of Tony. Look who snuck up there into 6th place, Mark Martin. As you said, a very patient drive to work his way to the front. Now he's among the top half dozen.
Well, he started in 31st because of the way the field was set, and Alan Gustafson, he took advantage of those first 2 cautions when a lot of cars stayed out. He came to pit road and he started making his car better early with adjustments.
Let's take a look at the 11 car. You know, we are always talking about adjusting your brake bias. Now, one of the things that the really smart guys do, when you've got 4 fresh tires and you're full of fuel, you want a little bit different brake combination. He is screwing rear brake into the car because you've got gas in the back. You've got 150 pounds of fuel back there, 4 fresh tires. You can get a little bit more grip out of those rear tires. He'll probably take a little of that off once they get into a run.
Yeah, these cars have 2 master cylinders, one for the front wheels, one for the rear wheels, and you can adjust the bias. That's one of the few things that a driver can adjust on sitting in the cockpit of the race car.
Jeff Gordon holding station in 2nd. His teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr. right in his tire tracks, Matt.
Mike, after running 100+ laps on that last run, during the caution, Dale Earnhardt Jr. asked Tony Jr. about the brake pedal shape and size on his car compared to his teammates Martin, Johnson, and Gordon. He said that on that long run, the pedal seems to hurt the ball of his foot. He wanted to know maybe if it was a little bit different size or shape they could try, especially on Martinsville and the other short tracks, but when they go to the road courses, just looking ahead to different places down the tour that they might want to make some changes that might help him on long runs like this. Dick?
Well, Jeff Gordon's car does not like the adjustments that they made to it on that last round of pit stops. He said that when he gets on the gas trying to come out of the corner, the car shoots straight for the wall. Gordon dropping back.
And that brake pedal thing, it's customized. Every driver likes something a little bit different, but what happens here is you brake with your left foot, and your left leg will get tired, and you have to put that over on the footrest and use your right foot for gassing and braking to give that thing a little rest.
This is a battle between teammates right here. Jamie McMurray in the 26 car started back in 28th position, and Carl Edwards, who lost those spots on pit road a minute ago, he just lost a spot to his teammate, the 26. Krista, I believe they're making that 26 better and better.
Absolutely, Larry Mack. The folks in Joplin, Missouri are on their feet because their driver started 28th. He is up to 11. They've been alternating pit strategies, 4 tires and then 2 every other stop. Jamie McMurray has raced here 12 times. He has 7 top 10s. This is a great track for him.
Left rear tire down on the 99.
And he almost stacked up the whole field behind him.
I'm pretty sure somebody probably cut that tire down. I don't mean intentionally, but pretty sure the splitter might have gotten that left rear tire.
Looks like right there from David Rudiman in the 00 car. And as you mentioned, Darrell, you don't run that safety inner liner here because it's a short track. You're all the way down on the rim when you have that problem.
That splitter is sharp and it's tough.
Yeah, it's a blade. We don't run the inner liner so we don't build up so much heat. What's the reason?
Well, weight. And you know, normally, I mean, we're not running speeds here where when you blow a right front tire, when you blow a blow a tire out that you can't get the car woed up.
maybe with this new front splitter, might be a good idea.
Well, it's just more heat, Mike.
True.
I mean, with the brakes and everything else, you got another tire in there. It just get hot that much quicker.
But just remember, what put him back there was the problem he had on pit road, that last pit stop. He had been running up there in the top 5, where you see these guys kind of spread out right now. So, yeah, you can say the problem was the splitter on Ruderman's car. The problem goes all the way back to that last pit stop.
And just a little bit more on the inner liner. You run the air pressure so low here that you couldn't have enough air in the inner liner to keep it from not floating around inside the tire. We only run 8-10 pounds on left sides.
Brian Vickers in 10th place. Is there a problem there, Steve?
Well, Mike, we heard Jeff Hammond and Chris Myers talking about Brian Vickers lurking around that top 10 all day. Vickers says he feels like he has a tire rub. His spotter, Chris Lambert, keeping an eye on the situation.
He's sitting up there in the top 10, and Darrell may have said it, but I was focused in on the 99 car. One reason we don't run inner liners, it's short tracks and road courses. Heat is an issue anyhow, and that inner liner generates more heat because it's a tire within the tire.
285 laps complete, 215 to go. Denny Hamlin leading Jeff Gordon by half a second. What happens to a tire?
Not good.
Kaboom.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox, built by the Home Depot, is sponsored by Sprint. NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile. It'll change the way you experience the race.
Denny Hamlin in 2 laps will overtake Jeff Gordon as leader of the most laps in this race. Here's another question from Ask.com. Why do they say Virginia is for lovers? It's a great marketing slogan, and it used to be on a race car here at Martinsville. You can get the answer at Ask.com, the official search engine of NASCAR.
Yeah, I think it was on Hermie's car.
It was Hermie Sadler.
Yep.
Yep, Elliott Sadler's brother.
Larry and I were just laughing about the lap times, Mike. The leader right now is an 85. Gordon's 88. Earnhardt's at 82. Jamie Johnson's an 89. I mean, they're all within just hundreds of each other, those first 5 cars.
Now, Clint Boyer has worked his way back up after a bit of a miscue on pit road. He's in 4th place, Matt.
And Mike, Larry, Matt can attest to the fact that probably no spotter talks more each and every lap than Clint Boyer's spotter, Mike Dillon. He is walking him through each corner. Early in the race, you can see how he's not right down on the curb that last lap. He was at the beginning of the race, and then he slowly migrated up just about a half a lane off that curb. Now he's down on the curb. He's changing up his entry and exits. As this race progresses and this track changes, Mike Dillon is seeing what Hamlin and some of the other fast cars are doing by changing up their lines, and he's trying to help Boyer stay ahead of the game.
I mean, that's one of the many roles of a spotter at any of one of our 22 racetracks. Yeah, is to tell them where problems are, to clear them if they're going to lap a car or pass a car, but also where the cars that are leading the race, where they're running on the racetrack.
Yeah, you always want to know, what everybody else is doing. It's very helpful.
You ready for a hot dog?
No.
Every track has its signature culinary delight. And at Martinsville, it's those Jesse Jones Franks. Just ask any driver. We did.
I'm a hot dog connoisseur. I love hot dogs everywhere. My favorite is up in Chicago at a Wrigley game. But at Martinsville, it just doesn't do it for me. I had one dog my rookie year, and that was it. I said, that's it. I had it, I did it, and now I don't have to do it anymore.
But I have had one. They're good to eat. They're great. But I just, one of those hot dogs, 500 laps here, or many of those hot dogs and 500 laps here, just doesn't seem like a good combo.
I'm from California, man. Their hot dogs aren't supposed to be red.
Couldn't we have asked some other drivers? My gosh, these out-of-towners, I'll tell you.
And the thing about it, they are still just $2.
That's a pretty good deal.
Yes, it is a good deal.
Only 110 calories till you load them up with all the stuff.
Yeah, slaw.
I think in the booth, counting our support staff, we've consumed, what, 24, 25 this weekend?
I don't know. How many was in that big sack over there? Yeah.
There's not as many as there was a while ago. Meanwhile, Jeff Gordon has fallen 0.7 of a second behind Denny Hamlin. Mayfield makes another pit stop, another tire issue for Jeremy. The only cars out of the race, Joe Nemechek, Dave Blaney, and Todd Bodine. Although Scott Speed is 73 laps down and Robbie Gordon 32 laps behind.
By the way, that's what old Hickory said too. There wasn't as many as there was a while ago.
Yeah, Johnny Horton, Battle of New Orleans, 1962.
But what has happened right here, right now, at lap 304, is we're about 3/5 of the way through this race, is Denny Hamlin in the 11 is starting to catch the back of the field. As you can see, Jeff Gordon in that 24 car is pulled within about a car length of the 11 car.
I think as long as that 24 was in my mirror, I would be a little bit worried.
You know, as I watched that 11 car lead this race, I talked to Mike Ford, the crew chief for Denny Hamlin, earlier in the week, and they had made the decision several weeks ago to build this brand new race car and to bring it here to Martinsville. As we got closer to race weekend, Mike got very nervous about the forecast because he knew we probably were not going to get any practice yesterday, and we didn't. And it's not that they're nervous about bringing brand new race cars. It's like Darrell said, well, heck, if a brand new car is not the best piece to bring, why would you bring a brand new car? But it's because it takes time to sort through how you need to set that car up on these chassis stops and bump stops like they're running them today.
Well, right here is where Denny Hamlin's got to prove himself a winner, because he's about to get into a heavy pack of traffic, and as Jeff Gordon clears Joey Logano, he has Hamlin straight ahead. So Denny's ability to deal with the traffic is going to help determine whether he keeps this lead or not.
Just a little bit following up on what Larry said. Yeah, they used to bring a brand new car to the track. You go out and say, man, this thing is terrible. They'd say, well, what do you expect? It's a brand new car.
Ninth place battle. Kurt Busch trying to get past Brian Vickers. David Rudiman's part of that, and so is Jamie McMurray in the 26. Newman and Kyle Busch not for position. Ryan Newman's on the lead lap, and Kyle is 2 laps down, still 2 laps down. In fact, other than the free pass cars, nobody's made up a lap today.
This is a tough place to make it up because a lot of times our free pass car was the car that was involved in the accident, right, and there was no free pass.
Krista, Ryan Newman having a good run.
Yeah, and if you three put down a hot dog for a second, I'm going to give you something else to chew on. The challenge for Ryan Newman is, remember, because qualifying was washed out, he started way back in 27. Ryan Newman is used to starting up front. In his 14 races here, he started in the top 10 times. This is one of the hardest places to pass. Track position is everything. Right now, he is not used to having to work through the traffic. His car is very tight.
And remember, he finished 7th last week at Bristol, and a lot due to a lot of hard luck. That was his first top 20 finish of 2009. Wow.
Denny Hamlin trying to put a lap on Bobby Labonte here. Labonte is running 19th. He's the last car on the lead lap.
Maybe he should.
Ford.
I was going to say, maybe you should ask him if he'd let him by.
Well, he's racing Reed Sorensen just in front of him, and they are racing Casey Kane just in front of them. So they're not going to roll over for Denny Hamlin.
Well, last time coming off of turn 2, Denny Hamlin got awfully close to that outside wall.
All right, during this next break, send Hammond a hot dog.
He is
send
a hot dog.
A hot dog.
No, he is a hot dog.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox, built by the Home Depot, is sponsored by Cheez-It, The Big Cheese, by Claritin Allergy Products, Live Claritin Clear, by AT&T, your world delivered, and by State Farm, where great coverage meets great rates.
Welcome back to Martinsville, Virginia. 178 laps to go. Denny Hamlin and Jeff Gordon have been the big leaders today. 19 cars still on the lead lap all the way back through Bobby Labonte. Some of the notables that have had trouble today include Kyle Busch, who's 2 laps down, and Matt Kenseth, who paid a pit penalty early and has not been able to get his 1 lap back, and Carl Edwards, who had a miscue on pit road, which put him deep in the field, then a bump with another car sent him to the pits again and put him 2 laps back.
This looks like these Gibbs cars, you know, based on the way Kyle Busch has done, kind of dominated at Bristol, and now they hear it today. Denny Hamlin, these Gibbs cars have really got something figured out, Larry, on these short tracks particularly.
Well, you know, they did last year, Darrell, but with the exception of Denny Hamlin winning here, they just couldn't seal the deal, it seemed like. All the laps they led at places like Bristol, but they just couldn't close it out.
All of Rick Hendrick's cars, all 4 of them, are in the top 7 positions, led by 7-time Martinsville winner Jeff Gordon in 2nd. Dick Berggren's in his pit.
And here's what Jeff Gordon's experience buys for his team and for his team owner. Early on in this race, his car was tight, and he urged the crew to not loosen it up very much, reminding him that toward the end of these races at Martinsville, the car is going to loosen up on his own. Guess what? He's free in and free out. Exactly what he predicted. Steve.
Nick, his teammate Jimmy Johnson has gone from tight in the center to snug in the center to a few laps ago telling crew chief Chad Canals it's really rolling through the center good. He said the only thing that mattered is the car feels just a little bit bound up still.
Thanks, Steve. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 5th overall, 3rd among the Hendrick cars. And Darrell, something we've not seen much of this season. Junior's car, 300 laps into the race, better than it was running better than it was at the start of the race. That's progress.
It really is, and I just can't emphasize enough that big meeting they had over there on Wednesday morning, with all the crew chiefs, drivers, and everything. One of the things they said, we're going to share information. I think it's really helping them this weekend.
Matt?
And Mike, looking back on this run right here, they're talking about going back on an air pressure change. They have helped the car through the center of the corner, but they've hurt it on exit. And Dale Jr. would prefer to have a little bit better car with forward bite, so they're looking at that on their next stop.
And you know, the 4th Hendrick car, they probably were really relying on information from their teammates, because remember, Mark Martin, he has not raced at Martinsville in this new car, because this is the first time he has been here since the fall of 2006, and here he's up there in the top 7 in 7th spot.
Yeah, and we got us a little battle for the lead again, boys.
With one of the Hendrick cars.
In traffic, Denny Hamlin has been caught. He's been picking his way through traffic, but just ahead of them, there's a battle. Bobby Labonte just fought his way past Reed Sorensen. That's for 18th position, but most importantly, it's to stay on the lead lap, and they continue to battle, and Hamlin's going to have a tough time getting through there.
Yeah, but look at the 33 car, Clint Boyer. He's right up in there.
These first 5 cars, the 48 is creeping in the picture right there. You see him, and not far behind him comes the 88. So those first 5 cars are really tightening up.
Well, Hamlin's trying to be patient, but he's going to have to force the issue, and he's going to have to get in amongst that battle between the 43 and the 96 and make something happen, or we're going to have a new leader.
I'm not sure that 33 isn't better than both those cars right now, because he's got a good launch off the corner. He's just looking for a way by. Watch this. He kind of diming the corner off. He's going to get a really nice run on Jeff Gordon. Looking to the inside. He's wondering. That's when you wonder, is that guy going to let me in there or not? You're not real sure.
And look midway down the backstretch. The log jam ahead of these 3 is a group of drivers who have all been told, leader's coming. You got to do something.
And a lot of them are trying to stay on the lead lap or stay just 1 lap down.
Crunch time with 166 laps to go and a huge pack of traffic just in front of the race leaders.
And we know regardless of what happens, we're going to have at least 1 more pit stop.
Looks like we're about to have 1 more caution.
That is 1 more gaggle of cars up there in front of our leaders.
We're going to have more than 1 more caution.
Elliott Sadler just ahead. Sadler cut down a tire early, or had a bead problem. He's 2 laps down. Scott Speed back to pit road with a lot of damage, 70 laps off the pace.
And you can hear just a little bit of wheel spin. That's just typical Martinsville, trying to put that 850 horsepower down. It's not easy.
Now it's the 43 of Reed Sorensen just ahead of the leaders. Reed's done a really good job today, staying on the lead lap and being competitive.
Yeah, probably one of his better runs since he had a top 10 finish in the Daytona 500, but it doesn't look like Denny Hamlin's going to mess around with him long.
No. He has been unable to stay up in touch with Bobby Labonte to battle for that position.
See, this is when you have to use it. When you're the 43 car, yeah, I'm having a good day. Don't turn it into a bad day by holding up these leaders, because they will not hesitate to move you out of the way.
But Darrell, you're right. With all this racing going on with our leader, they're the top 5. They're all right there together, all the way back to Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 88.
Yep. Next car in line is Scott Riggs ahead of the leader.
Got 50 laps till we pit, 50.
Who is laps down, then Bobby Labonte, who is a lead lap car.
Got 1 Toyota and 4 hungry Chevrolets lined up behind him.
Well, the top 7, the first car is a Toyota, the next 6 Chevrolet. Remember, Chevrolet's been shut out so far in 2009 as far as going to victory lane.
That's right. The first Ford in the race is McMurray in 11th, and the first Dodge Allmendinger in 13th. Can Denny Hamlin hang on to the lead as he pushes through lap traffic in the Goody's Fast Relief 500? Why do I love Martinsville? Let me count the ways. 11 and 24. Jeff Gordon got the lead the hard way. He earned it. He drove around Denny Hamlin in traffic. Hamlin didn't like it. He jumped back to the bottom, and look who's jumped up to third and right in the midst of it, Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, we got the first 5 cars. You can throw a blanket over them, and they are not afraid to beat on each other.
And it wasn't but a few laps ago, Clint Boyer, the 33 car, he was up there, and then he got knocked out of the way.
Now on the right is the lead change. Hamlin got underneath Scott Riggs. Jeff gave him a little boot, jumped to the inside, and took the line away.
And that really ticked Hamlin off.
Did it ever?
He came back with a vengeance. They tried to use Scott Riggs in the 36 as a pick a couple of times. What a race.
Hamlin fell a car length back, waited a lap, dove underneath Gordon in turn 1, and snatched the lead back. And that'll put some 60,000 fans on their feet.
Yep. Meanwhile, back at the ranch.
Yeah. Boyer got in the middle of it. Johnson came up for third as those two fought side by side. And it's on.
And you notice who has slipped into second? The 48 car, Jimmy Johnson. Now, while all that was going on, he found him a way to get by.
He just snatched it away from Jeff Gordon, his teammate.
Jimmy has won 4 of the last 5 races here. And his biggest worry with qualifying being rained out was that Jeff Gordon would have a better pit stall than he would.
Caution's out.
Caution's out. Debris in turn 1 puts us under the yellow for the 7th time today. Probably just in time for some tempers to cool. But that was a great 4-car battle for the lead. And sadly, the caution appears to be for a beverage can, and that had to come from the lower levels of the grandstand.
In the fear, obviously it's way out of the groove,
right.
Way out of the groove, but the fear would be a little puff of wind, blow that thing down in the groove. We've had enough tire issues already today. Not of Goodyear's fault, I might stress.
And just think about it when you're driving down the interstate and you see something laying in the highway. What do?
Swerve.
Swerve to miss it. So if that thing started rolling down, you don't know what it is. It could be a piece of lead.
What usually happens in a case like this is track security arrives and fans identify the perpetrator, who is escorted from the premises. So pit road will be open this time around, and Reed Sorensen receives the free pass and gets back on the lead lap. That will give us 19 cars on the lead lap. Steve Burns, that was a great 4-car battle for the lead, and now we'll shake it up again on pit road.
And Mike, Jimmy Johnson just said to Chad Canals, the front end of this race car has really come to life. Chad Canals saying, we're going to fix you up, give you a great adjustment. You're doing a fantastic job. Matt.
And Clint Boyer hits his marks in his pit stall. No changes for the 33. All he wanted was a bottle of water. Dick Berggren.
Denny Hamlin pits out of the lead. What a run he has had today. The wrench in the back of the car. They are going to make 2 chassis adjustments back there. 4 tires and Sunoco fuel for Hamlin. And he'll be off and try to beat Jeff Gordon off pit road.
Hamlin is the first to lead the pits, followed by Johnson and Gordon.
I think the 48 may have won that battle. He got bottled up by cars that hadn't even made it to their pit boxes yet because of where he's pitting.
There they are crossing the line. Caution out at lap 354. Denny Hamlin led 82 laps here last spring, and he's finished in the top 6 the last 5 Martinsville races with a little assist from Jimmy Johnson.
That was a terrible restart. He didn't go where they've been going.
But we're back under green. 19 lead lap cars back through Marcus Ambrose, who just stopped to top off the tank.
Now Carl Edwards, the 99 car, the reason he's going to run so hard here, he's 2 laps down. He's trying to get one of them back this way. That way that would put him 1 down to get the free pass.
Right, he can't get the free pass now. There are 7 cars just 1 lap down.
Got a pretty good
cut out
car,
for
but
him.
I don't believe he's got a good enough car to get up there and get the lead from the 11. Even though it wouldn't be the lead, it would be in his mind.
That's a battle for second right behind him between those two teammates. Jeff Gordon on the inside, Johnson on the outside.
Rick Hendrick, who owns both those cars, has long said, we have no team orders. Each driver has to try to win for his team. However, he would be pretty upset if they took each other out.
Yeah, well, we saw that here a couple of years ago when they raced each other to the finish, you know, and the 48 won by an inch. We've had team orders here before. I've seen all three of us wrecked on the back straightaway before. That was the order. Wreck him.
.139 laps to go. Denny Hamlin has led 200 of them so far.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox, built by the Home Depot, is sponsored by Toyota. Moving forward.
Denny Hamlin trying to move his Toyota forward to victory lane today to break a pretty long wind drought for Hamlin. Jimmy Johnson battles Clint Boyer, tries to hold Boyer back for third place, but he opened the door on the bottom. Gets a little shot.
Little Martinsville contact.
I tell you what, that 33 car and Clint Boyer, Shane Wilson's crew chief, this has been another pleasant surprise. But I heard Clint Boyer on the Speed pre-race show earlier today, NASCAR race day, and what he said, that because nobody factored them in to winning races or making the chase, that actually gave them more incentive to go out and do what they've been doing. They come in here third in the points.
Drivers just love to prove the media wrong. I mean, it's just part of their job. It's part of their DNA.
Right. 135 laps to go, Steve. What about fuel mileage and the checkered flag?
Well, Mike, just before the restart, Chad Canals told Jimmy, he said, I think we'll have another caution, but we are 7 laps shy of making it on fuel, and car spins on the front stretch.
That would be Robbie Gordon. And there is the caution flag. So, Larry, if they stop now, should they be able to go all the way?
Well, I don't think they'll stop, Mike, because when you're under caution here, it's like a ratio of 3 cautions to 1 green. It'll buy you a lot of laps.
Been a tough day for Robbie Gordon. I think he was right in front of Marcus Ambrose when that happened, the 47.
Boy, Reed Sorensen, David Gilliland just sneaking by on the inside.
Big brakes and slow speeds. You can usually miss somebody here.
Bad news for Gordon, good news for Martin Truex. He will get the free pass, and he will be the 20th car on the lead lap. 133 laps to go. Who will prevail here in Martinsville? .130 laps to go. You better tug on those belts one more time, because the first 4 drivers each just ran their fastest lap of the race just prior to this caution, and now we're back under green.
And I think there's a couple of reasons. We're getting down toward the closing stages, but one thing I've been watching, and our pit reporters, they've been talking about it, is we're getting a lot of clouds rolling here, and this track is cooling down, so that's changing the handling complexities.
How about the handling intensities, Derek?
Just remember, it's not just happening at the front of the field.
Right.
It's happening all the way through the field, and everybody's patience is getting mighty thin.
20 cars on the lead lap. They're working past Michael Waltrip, who is the first car 1 lap down. Hamlin has cleared him. Now so has Gordon, and that gives those 2 a little breathing room, Matt.
Mike Dale Earnhardt Jr. running 6th under that caution. He noted to his team, he says, you know, the track is now mostly shaded after being sunny all day. He said the car, it's a little stuck, need to go maybe back in the other direction a little bit, but now with the changing conditions with the sun leaving us, they're questioning what to do as far as how big of a change on their stop.
I don't think I do much of it. You're just going to pick up overall grip. You're not going to just, you know, it's not going to change one end or the other. It's going to change everything for the better.
Clint Boyer to the inside of Waltrip. Moves the 4th place car up in contact with the 3 leaders. Now the next car back is Tony Stewart in 5th place, Krista.
Tony Stewart has gained 1 position. Mike still asking for some more forward bite, but before that caution came out and all those leaders were up there mixing it up, Tony said, is that the lead group? Darian Grubb said, yes, it is. Tony said, I want to be up there. That looks like fun.
I'll bet it is.
You know, I just see so much incentive for these guys at the front to win here today. You look at Denny Hamlin. He hadn't won in a year in that 11. Jeff Gordon hadn't won since October of 2007. Of course, Jimmy Johnson winless this year. Clint Boyer wanting to prove to the media that this is a winning race team. And Tony Stewart, how bad he would want to win in his own race car.
Well, just slide on back a little further. Don't stop there. How about the 88?
and the 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, the junior show, you know, have a lot to prove, let's say, to the media, if not to themselves and team owner Rick Hendrick. They got 1 win last year. Some folks called it a fluke, or a fluke of strategy, let's say, that went in the right direction, but a win is a win. And,
I just thought
I
thought today's race would be kind of entertaining for those very reasons. People that need wins, want wins, run well here, and it's really panned out that way.
But it has been a 2-horse race. Between Denny Hamlin and Jeff Gordon, they've led 364 laps. Nobody else has led a lap under the green flag except Scott Speed, who stayed out and didn't pit when the leaders did and led 12 laps.
Well, the guy that won Atlanta, he's running 14th right now, Kurt Busch. And the 17 car hadn't even been on the radar today. He's all the way back in 26. Those are guys in Kyle Busch that have won races. He's back in 18th or 29th. So guys that have won races are not performing all that great today.
The only driver who is on the lead lap who has won this year is Kurt Busch. And Dick, why is he mired back in 14th?
Well, the car is pushing, Mike, and he is really unhappy about it. He has expressed himself very, very effectively, both to Roger Penske, who is on top of the building spotting, and to his crew about the adjustments that have been made to the car today.
Well, and I think they either made adjustments too much to a racetrack that they were not going to have most of the day, or they just went the wrong way, Darrell.
Well, these cars, I say it every week, and you do too, Larry, they're fickle. I mean, you do the slightest little thing. I mean, when you hear a driver say a quarter pound of air or a half a turn on a track bar, that is minuscule. How that can affect the car, I don't know, but it affects this car.
Tell you what, Jeff Gordon, he is reeling this 11 car in slowly but surely with 117 laps to go.
But Darrell, if Gordon is still the best car here, and we're not sure if Hamlin is running as fast as he can, of what benefit is it to him to work hard to pass Denny Hamlin now with 117 laps to go?
Well, if you're faster than him, you pass him now. You don't want to wait until you get down to the end of the race and then see if you're faster than him or not. If I can pass him, I'm going to pass him now, and then I'm going to have to hold him off if I have to. But Jeff Gordon, somebody just called him. Steve Letarte probably said we're coming up with about almost 100 to go, and the pay window is starting to open.
Yeah, you think back 2 or 3 years ago, maybe Jeff Gordon kind of waited to play with his teammate Jimmy Johnson. When he had a chance, he couldn't get by him. So, yeah, you get an opportunity, you take it here at Martinsville.
Got good tires right now. You got a little bit better race car. You got to pounce on that guy.
It would be hard to figure which of these two drivers is hungrier to win. Hamlin, who let several wins kind of slip through their fingers and hasn't won in a while, thinks his win total should be higher. Jeff Gordon hasn't won in a year and a half. What about today?
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox, built by the Home Depot, is sponsored by Verizon Wireless. Get the inside track from Penske Racing and race analysis, plus highlights and high-speed action, all on VCast from Verizon Wireless, America's largest, most reliable wireless network.
105 laps to go, no change at the front. Jeff Gordon continues to stalk Denny Hamlin. Hamlin's led 233 laps, Gordon 147. Hardly anyone else has led under the green flag today, but Jimmy Johnson, whose car always seems to get better here toward the end of the race, right there stalking the 2 leaders. And Clint Boyer, Tony Stewart, not that far back.
And Hamlin's got what you long for here. He's not that great getting in like he was earlier in the race, but watch this thing when he turns it and gasses it. He opens up a big gap between him and Jeff Gordon most of the time.
2 drivers that don't seem to like their cars very much. Not these two. a little further back.
You have someone else in mind, Mike?
Yeah, Dale Jr.'s not advancing. He's not able to move past the lap car of Joey Logano, make any steam past Logano. And Kevin Harvick, who we're told just doesn't like his car at this stage in the race. He and teammate Jeff Burton running 12th and 13th. Harvick gave up a position or two a lap ago, and these cars are just kind of holding station.
But what's amazing, when I look at probably the top 13 cars, they're all within 1/10 of each other right now, and we're starting to see the sun come back out here as we're right at 100 laps to go.
Something we haven't heard anybody say a word about all day that I'm aware of are brakes. I don't think I've heard anybody complain about having a brake problem.
The only car that did, Marcos Ambrose, the 47 car, they had to come in on that last caution when everybody else stayed out. And I think they actually added some brake fluid. That's the only problem I've heard of.
Matt, how about Kevin Harvick? He's able to stay in front of Jeff Burton, but then again, they are teammates.
The biggest issue for Kevin Harvick, Mike, you mentioned that he's not pleased with the way the race car is handling right now. His issue is trying to get forward bite off the corner. That's what he needs most, and they're not sure if they're going to be able to get him that handling characteristic before we're at day's end. You talked about people having issues with brakes. The only person in my area I've heard have any issues with A.J. Allmendinger in the 44. He took it easy over the previous run, and his pedal came back, so he's good to go.
Allmendinger running 14th. Dick, what about Mark Martin in 7th?
Mark is the only person in my area that I have heard say anything about brakes, and his situation is most unusual. He said he is pressing his brake pedal so hard going into the corner, he's worried about tearing the skin off the bottom of his foot.
That's what happens with some of these brake packages. You don't get them hot enough. They are so big, the calipers, the rotors, the pads, that a lot of these brake packages have to have heat to be effective. So that sounds like he's glazed them over a little bit and just doesn't have them hot enough.
Dale Jr. we saw working his way underneath David Reagan, who is not on the lead lap.
And the reason I mention brakes right now, because at 100 laps, these next 100 laps is when I normally hear two things: brakes and gears.
Here's another question from Ask.com. What driver scored his only win in what is now the Sprint Cup Series here at Martinsville? Get the answer now at Ask.com and enter the Ask.com NASCAR Challenge for a chance to win a trip to Talladega from the official search engine of NASCAR.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Just looking at some of the temperatures from Friday's practice, and nobody made a real long run. The rotors, the disc that Jeff Hammond showed a while ago, they were showing 12 to 1,300 degrees. The pad itself was showing 1,800 degrees, and the calipers were showing almost 500 degrees. That's a lot of temperature when you think about it.
Well, that too, and today's been a relatively cool day as well. That helps a whole lot. When the ambient temperature is not so high, that helps the temperature of all the parts on the race car.
David Rudiman having a good day. He's running in 10th place. We kidded earlier that at Michael Waltrip Racing, they've hung the tag "the franchise" on Rudiman. Dick Bergeron, how about one of your contemporaries, the father of the franchise?
Yeah, I think Buzzy, who is David Rudiman's dad, really is the franchise of the family, because at age 67, last night, Buzzy won the modified feature at East Bay Raceway, a 3/8 mile dirt track in Florida. Attaboy, Buzzy.
He can still, he's still a wheel man, I can tell you. Oh, Buzzy can get it done.
And his longtime car number, 00.
Double nothing.
Like father, like son.
And of course, David is the car owner, I think, of Buzzy's car.
No. He's the sponsor.
Sponsor.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's just a sponsor. He's the whip out man for his dad. When they need something, he reaches in his pocket and whips out the cash.
The difference is the car owner sometimes gets assigned the back of a check.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox, built by the Home Depot, is sponsored by new Shell nitrogen-enriched gasolines. By DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. By Ali, all day strong, all day long. And by Amp Energy. Amp up.
Denny Hamlin still leading by 0.8 of a second, but the race doesn't end when the checkered flag falls. Check out foxsports.com all weekend long. with exclusive columns and videos from the NASCAR on Fox gang and a live weekly chat this Friday. DW chats about all things NASCAR, and stay connected with our Twitter feed at twitter.com/NASCAR on Fox.
Yeah, call me on Friday. I'll be available.
Well, if we were tweeting right now, what we would tweet is Jimmy Johnson in that 48 car is reeling in his teammate Jeff Gordon. This is a battle for second. Meanwhile, Denny Hamlin, the 11, has pulled out to about a 3/4 second lead. There you see it right there with 2 cars in between him and Gordon.
And you were talking about motivation to win this race. If your boss is down there, it's a 25th anniversary, his first win, and you only got to pass 1 car to make the boss happy, you better get on up there and do it.
There goes Johnson.
And I'm not talking about these 2. I'm talking about that 11 car that's up there.
Well, as we've seen so many times, including 4 of the last 5 Martinsville races, Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson have steadily made their car better as the day has gone along. And he's now second to Denny Hamlin. It's 1.1 seconds.
Closing, baby, closing.
Lost a little time passing Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, but he's coming right back.
And that gives Hamlin his biggest lead in quite a while. But I will say, in this green flag run, Denny Hamlin has done a much better job of slicing his way through lap traffic.
Boy, look at Boyer. Jeff Gordon is slowing down a little bit, or these other guys are speeding up.
I believe the Hamlin has went away on this 24 car right now, because definitely the 33 car looks like he's about to take this 3rd spot away from him. All you got to do is get that right front fender, that left rear quarter panel. She's all over with. It may take a lap or 2, but you'll eventually get him. And look at Tony Stewart in that 14 car. Boyer's going to open the door. Stewart will try to go through it.
And Jeff Gordon has been complaining a lot about back pain, lower back pain. And let me tell you, this place will break your back because you're using that left foot all the time, pushing hard on those big old brakes. And man, it gets down this point of the race, if you got anything physically wrong, it's going to show up.
Mike, I think the thing we need to set up is we've got 76 laps to go. Remember, all these cars were on pit road on that 7th caution. At lap.
Don't worry about your brakes no more. 75 to go.
Now we're told that Jeff has not said anything on the radio about a problem with the race car, as Tony Stewart gets underneath for 4th.
Mike Dillon just telling Boyer to use it up. 75 to go. We got plenty of gas. Go get them.
Time to go. Yeah, all the leaders were on pit road at lap 353 with 147 to go. We've
got a car in the wall, turn 441.
That's Jeremy Mayfield. No caution yet.
No caution. We've seen this a lot today. This is not unusual. If he can get down on the inside, he should stay green.
And there should be a break in the traffic right about here if the car will turn. Not yet. Maybe he'll try to get down in the back straightaway. They're not going to wait.
When it happens in
Caution's
turn
out.
3 and 4 like that, hard to get all the way back around to the pit road.
Well, a few laps ago, Denny Hamlin heard what no leader wants to hear in a long green run like this. They told Hamlin, you need to save me a half a gallon of gas.
Well, that's out the window now,
right.
Because I think since it's been about 60 laps since they were on pit road, I think everybody will be on pit road for 4 tires. So this could be, you can see them warming up in the 11 pits, the most critical stop all day long. You don't want to lose positions on this stop.
Listen, here's one thing you know like I do. There's guys out there, if I were them, I'd take 2 tires. Guys that are back here 10th place on back, I'd gamble, man, because we haven't seen anybody do it all day, and it might pay off.
I think one reason they've not done it is talking to a lot of the crew chiefs this morning. They were seeing the excessive even wear on the left sides in practice, Darrell.
All the leaders are coming. Here's Steve.
And Chad Knaus telling Jimmy Johnson, you're looking really good. Jimmy saying the forward bite has gotten good. A chassis adjustment for that 48. Jimmy saying I've gotten just a little bit loose on entry. Matt.
31 races since Clint Boyer last went to victory lane. They're going to back up on the wedge adjustment they made on the last stop. Boyer says the car now going too free on entry to Krista.
They asked Tony Stewart, what do you need? He said, I'm pretty good. It turns really good. I just need a little bit of bite, just a skosh of air out of both rears. Dick.
Denny Hamlin's crew busy trying to get their guy out ahead of anybody else. A minor chassis adjustment in the back to try to tighten that car up for the stretch run.
Boy, Chad Knaus looks like a genius.
Well, pit selection hurt them last time because they got blocked in, because now we don't have as many cars on the lead lap. They got in and they got out, and they have the lead.
Jimmy Johnson's the leader. Can he hold it? ready for the restart with 67 laps to go. 18 cars on the lead lap, and for the first time today, Jimmy Johnson's out front.
Yep, this is a show me what you got. It's showtime.
Denny Hamlin at 11. He's going to try to wrestle that lead back. Look at him drive it to the outside of the 48, getting through 3 and 4. I don't think you got any bite up there, and he doesn't want to open the door for Stewart in the 14.
That looks real good on TV, but it doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
Stewart and Boyer, third and fourth, looking in. Then a couple of lapped cars, several back to Jeff Gordon, Mark Martin, and Dale Jr.
This is just cool. I mean, look at Jimmy Johnson. You know, he's won 4 out of the last 5. But there's Tony Stewart. Talked to him before the race started. Remember on the pre-race, on the parade lap? He said today was a day he might get him a win.
Just remember, Tony Stewart, he was a senior member over at Joe Gibbs Racing, but he passed the torch to Denny Hamlin last year when he left Joe Gibbs to form Stewart-Haas. Now Denny Hamlin, the senior member over there.
You know what he must have hung on to? Those Martinsville notes. Took those with him. He took those with him.
But when you look at the affiliation that Stewart-Haas has with Hendrick Motorsports, it's not surprising with Tony Stewart's ability to race here as well as he does for him to be this much on top of the game today.
There's 2 crew chiefs that I've been fans of for a long time. One is Darian Grubb. You know I've talked a lot about him through the last couple of years. And the other is the kid that's the crew chief on that 33 car.
Shane Wilson.
Shane Wilson. I think they're 2 really diamonds in the rough down there.
They're definitely in the right situation.
They are to shine.
Mark Martin get a little impatient in the middle of that pack. He and Dale Jr. stuck behind some lapped cars. Beginning to bring out the bumpers here.
Yep, it's time to go.
There's Shane Wilson right there, Clint Boyer's crew chief.
62 laps to go. Jeff Gordon mired behind 2 lapped cars, and behind him here's Mark Martin trying to get some running room as both the 55 of Waltrip and the 18 of Kyle Busch are laps down.
You know, I think Shane Wilson is from Vermont. I'm surprised.
He's from New England.
Yeah,
exactly.
up to New England. So I'm surprised that Dr. Dirt down there hadn't told us more about him.
Boy, it's a 4-car runaway because the other lead lap cars just can't bust out of traffic.
And those guys that are lap down, they're racing for a position just like the guys that are racing to try to get up front.
Yeah, the 98 of Menard, that bright yellow car, has been racing Bobby Labonte all day for position a lap down. And here comes Gordon and Mark Martin in the 5 and Junior in the 88 trying to push through.
Well, the thing about Menard in the 98 and Kyle Busch in the 18, they're actually 2 laps down right now. So I'm sure that's one of the reasons Mark Martin in the 5 is getting a little bit impatient with those guys.
That's right. Reed Sorensen there, the 43, and Bobby Labonte, the 96, are 1 lap down.
But you know, you look at the 18 car. The guy that's behind you, Mark behind you, says either go on or get out of the way. I mean, that's what they want you to do.
What's that old line? Lead, follow, or get out of the way.
Now that's a battle for 11th right there. Kevin Harvick in the 29, Marcos Ambrose in the 47. Remember, it wasn't that long ago Marcos was on pit road. Those guys was trying to add brake fluid to help his brake situation.
He took 2 tires on the last pit stop, moved him up 5 positions in the running order. See if he can hang on to it as the laps wind down. 57 to go.
Battle between teammates. Mark Martin in the 5. We're riding with Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88. They're running 6th and 7th right now.
Uh-oh, that won't work.
2 outside there, just 1 outside the 98. Good job.
Not 3 wide.
That might have worked if that wasn't your teammate, but being your teammate, that won't work.
There you go.
Now, I think probably if I know Mark, he will probably cut Dale Jr. some slack here when Dale Jr., if he gets another run on him like that.
Here you go, man. One good corner here. You'll get that 5 and we'll get 24.
Mark Martin is one of the guys that understands the principle. If he caught you, he probably caught you for a reason. He's a lot faster, and you start racing side by side, it's going to draw a lot of other cars up to your rear bumper.
Well, when you're running on a little tight track like this, it just one little slip, one little mistake, and you can get in trouble. You don't want to put yourself in that position.
Spin, turn 3, and it's Almirola.
There's a caution.
Believe there was contact involved. Jeff Hammond, who are your picks for today's AT&T fastest and most valuable pit crew?
Well, Mike, I tell you, it's been a lot of great battles off of pit road today, but right there toward the end, the Jimmy Johnson crew, led by Chad Knaus, have really done a great job of getting their their guy up to the lead. Denny Hamlin, they've been holding serve a lot today, kept him up there at the front when he counted, but I'm also very impressed with Tony Stewart, what Darian Grubb has been able to do with this young group. Good today. Again, we got our top three cars are the guys that I've picked so far as this afternoon is concerned here at Martinsville for our AT&T fastest pit crew of the race.
You can cast your vote from your AT&T phone. Text your vote for the fastest, most valuable pit crew of the year. That car number, text it to 2258 from your AT&T phone. Eric Almirola brings out the 10th caution of the day. Michael Waltrip will get the free pass.
NASCAR Sprint Cup racing on Fox, built by Home Depot. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. And sponsored by Old Spice, the official deodorant and body wash of NASCAR. By Subway, the big event is back. Any regular footlong for just $5. Subway, eat fresh. And by Sprint, NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile. It'll change the way you experience the race.
Ready, green flag, green. Nice and easy, nice rhythm, long way to go, Stay low, keep coming here. Green is still out there, that's your quarter. Nice and smooth here, make sure they're cleaned off. Still there. 10-4, we'll get it by the end of the day here. We'll have it perfect by the end.
49 laps to go. Caution for Eric Almirola. They're blowing the track in turns 1 and 2 now, and as soon as they're done, we'll get back to green, perhaps in as little as 1 lap. The 48 was the only car on the lead lap to pit on 2 of the first 3 pit stops of the race to correct a handling problem. At lap 100, he was 27th. It wasn't until lap 235, halfway in this race, that we first saw Jimmy Johnson in the top 10. But as they've done so many times, the longer the race went, the better that car has become.
Always loved it when you'd get about halfway through the race and all of a sudden you look in your mirror and say, where did he come from?
Well, and just remember that pit crew stepped up under that last caution. Talked to Chad Knaus earlier in the week. He was pretty upset with his pit crew. There's Chad Knaus right there on that last stop at Bristol with 50 to go because they lost 3 positions because of a problem on the left rear. He was not happy with what went on those pit stops at Bristol.
Well, remember Jimmy Johnson told us that the car rocked back a little bit on that stop.
48 laps to go here in Martinsville as the American pastime is warming up.
We look forward to the start of 2009. It's gone! Unbelievable. It's saved! High drive, forget about that.
Wow.
Rips one into right field. That is a blast. What a game.
Inside of 2 weeks, hoping for a dramatic start to the season and a dramatic finish here in Martinsville, Virginia, as we see Kyle Busch up near the front, even though he's a couple of laps down.
Yeah, he may be kind of like the flying ointment here because he still has got time to get back, only be 1 lap down. He's had a pretty good car. What I'm going to be interested in is he going to run Jimmy Johnson hard enough to maybe give his teammate an opportunity to do something with Jimmy and get around him also. So this could be a golden opportunity for the Gibbs boys to jump on Jimmy Johnson, and it also may open the door here for a guy named Tony Stewart to stick his nose in there and kind of muddy the water between all of these race cars.
Tony Stewart, a one-time teammate of Denny Hamlin, and of course Denny Hamlin trying to win a back-to-back spring race here at Martinsville for the first time since the early 90s when Rusty Wallace did it, but Jimmy Johnson is your leader.
Also keep an eye on the 98 of Paul Menard. He is fighting to stay in the top 35 in owner points, so he has a qualifying exemption next week at Texas. He is 35th in points right at this moment, so he needs to have and hang on and have a good finish too.
Well, there's no question the X factor in this restart is going to be that 18 car. What's he going to do?
Jimmy Johnson, Denny Hamlin, Tony Stewart, Clint Boyer, Jeff Gordon. 45 laps to go at Martinsville Speedway. Green flag.
Boy, Denny Hamlin, he's going to dive to the inside. He stayed right on the rear bumper of Johnson on the restart, trying to take it away down the back straightaway.
I think those big brakes worked pretty good that time because he was on it.
Hamlin was a missile going into turn 1.
He jumped on it the minute the green flag was displayed. He knew if he was going to get by him, he had to do it right there and then.
Oh, I don't think this little battle will end right here, though. I think that 48 will come back on him real quick.
But what a bold, decisive move by Denny Hamlin, who considers the short tracks of Virginia his personal playground. Hasn't won in a year. He's out front now.
I don't know that I've seen anybody make that kind of restart here in a long time. It's such a short distance from the start finish line to the first turn. He timed that perfectly.
Tony Stewart in the 14 has cleared the lap traffic. Now Clint Boyer trying to get past Kyle Busch, who lays over for the cars on the lead lap.
And a car that's, I mean, I can't say enough about Tony Stewart in that 14 car, the red car. He's right there too, guys.
Denny Hamlin just ran not only his fastest lap of the race, but the fastest lap of the race, period, that lap right there.
That's a 20:07. We're talking close to qualifying speeds now.
No kidding.
Hamlin told us last week, I think at this stage in my career, I should have more in the win column than I do. We've let some get away. We've had some stolen from us. I'm tired of that.
Oh, got a car way up high, Matt Kenseth. I think he just got booted up there, Mike, the 17.
But, Mike, here's the other thing. I mean, Hamlin almost seemed a little down before the Bristol race last week. Saw him after the Bristol race coming in here this week. That's the medicine he needed to do what he's doing today.
Kenseth gets back in line. He got a lap down very early in this race. One time we thought he had the free pass. 2 or 3 times he could have had it, but somebody else had just been lapped by the leader, and Kenseth has been mired 1 lap down the whole day.
Now that's a battle for 4th right there on the right-hand side of your screen. Jeff Gordon in the 24 car, Clint Boyer in the 33. Remember, Gordon comes in here, our points leader.
Boyer's car has been loose on transition. The car's been sliding up the racetrack since the last restart, and that enabled Gordon to take advantage.
It looks like Jeff's car is back like it was at the beginning of the race here. It's pretty quick up off the corner right now. Don't know if he's got enough time to chase these first 3 or 4 down, but we'll see.
Yeah, the problem is, Darrell, he is 2.4 seconds behind Denny Hamlin, who has a mirror full of Jimmy Johnson.
He'll only be a few car lengths behind the next caution.
Right.
Yeah, Hamlin pulled away from Johnson when he got by him, but it's like, boom, right there through the middle of the corner. That's where the 48 seems to be a little better. Denny pulls him just a little bit, as you saw right there on the exit of the corner.
Well, one thing, I mean, Jeff showed us that brake package they got on the 11 car. I was skeptical about that, but that really was the difference on that restart. Dive bombing that thing down in the corner and having plenty of brake to whoa it up.
And that's after more than 400 laps of dive bombing it into the corner.
There's a 48 car looking to the inside. He's showing him the nose. He wants him to know he's there. Just kind of distract him a little bit.
Jimmy Johnson tried to dive in there. All he wants to do is get that right front fender to that left rear quarter panel.
He just wants he wants Hamlin to know he's there. He wants him to start looking back and saying, where is he, where is he?
But that yellow curbing that you see on the inside of the corners is Denny Hamlin's best friend.
David Ruderman into 00. No caution yet.
Caution.
There it is. There it is.
Come on, leader's coming. Gotta go if you can.
Oh, he's a lap down.
Yeah, couldn't get it fired. Saw the black smoke coming out of it. Couldn't get it cranked, and that's a shame. David was sitting there in pretty good shape.
Yeah, he'd been top 10 most of the day and on the lead lap, so he will fall 1 lap behind as we get the caution with 33 to go. Let's see if there was contact to get this party started.
That's how the Michael's car, the Napa car. Let's see what he sees. He sees a lot of cars. When one of them's his.
A couple of laps ago, David Stremme and Ruderman had some contact.
Oh, that's hard on that left rear tire.
Yes, it is. We've seen that earlier in the race.
Oh, that's really hard on that left rear tire.
And so
he just used up the left rear tire. Boy, how bad do you want it? You want it bad enough that you'll spin the guy out to get it.
And Ruderman was on the lead lap. Stremme was a lap down. They weren't even racing for position.
There was a lot of cars got damage in all that melee, though. I saw the hood all buckled on the 1 car. Kurt Busch and the 2 had damage, so a lot of chain reaction.
Well, there's no question as to what is today's NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile monster moment. When the race changed in an instant, you were there. Look at this power move as Denny Hamlin dive bombs Jimmy Johnson to take the lead on the last restart.
Boy, he just jumped all over that early.
Now, he had a nice assist from Kyle Busch, who normally would be racing Johnson into the corner to get back on the to get one of his laps back. He left plenty of room for his teammate.
He laid off of him just enough to give him that inside, almost as if he knew he was going to do it. Oh yeah, cheerleader. Get up.
Chesterfield, Virginia's Denny Hamlin, who came to national prominence here at running late models. Got a chance to drive a Cup car and made the most of it. Won the Budweiser shootout at Daytona right out of the box.
What's that old saying about first time, darn you, next time, darn me? We may see that on this restart.
Well, I was going to say that was the Monster Mobile moment up to this point. I'll be interested to see if we create another one on this restart.
And you know, everybody up and down pit road, particularly in those two camps, and probably Tony Stewart as well, are wondering what this restart's going to look like. Oh, there's a worried person. JD Gibbs.
31 laps to go, so it'll still be a double file restart up until 20 to go. And again, Denny Hamlin has a wingman on this restart, his teammate Kyle Busch.
And just remember, these Gibbs cars are notorious for having something happen to them in the last few laps of the race.
29.
Mike, you bring up a great point. I would say his teammate Kyle Busch in the 18, he will play this restart differently from the last one.
Can you say rocking and blocking?
Just enough to let the 11 get to the bottom.
All right, we're ready for our clear it and clear to drive restart. Live, clear it and clear. Indoors and out. It'll be 29 laps to go. Remember that other X factor in there, Paul Menard, trying to stay in the top 35 in owner points. And Carl Edwards 2 laps down, trying to get one of those back. Joey Logano in the 20s had a good run all day, though he's several laps down. But here come the lead lap cars, and Johnson's going to clear Kyle Busch easily.
He
does not dive into turn 1 on Hamlin.
Well,
though.
he wanted to, but he didn't. He wasn't quite there.
You know, and an attaboy to Kyle Busch.
Yep.
He did not block Jimmy Johnson's path.
Well, y'all were making a pretty big assumption that he wanted the 11 to win.
28 laps to go.
But now remember, right after the last restart, Denny Hamlin pulled away from Johnson for a few laps, and then Johnson reeled him back in.
Trouble down here. Bobby Labonte and Martin Truex.
Labonte spun, and Truex could not avoid him and piled in.
Off forward, come on.
Boy, Labonte did a good job of hanging on to the tail end of the lead lap most all day.
Got hit in the left front here.
And then got hit after spinning in turn 1. Now still a double file restart, and boy, a lot of damage. Now some of that damage to the 1 was from the last caution.
See if the 96 gets a little help getting off in the corner here. I believe something may have happened.
Something like the blue 2?
The deuce is loose.
Certainly circumstantial evidence would point, yes, to the 2. Reed Sorensen will get the free pass, so we'll have 19 on the lead lap.
It's kind of funny how when you start the day off in trouble at Martinsville, your day never gets any better. It just keeps piling on.
Goes from bad to worse.
You know, we had that long run of green flag racing, 100 laps, and then a caution 20 later. We raced for 50, 60 laps, and now bam, 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 4 in a row.
Well, it's the end of the race. Everybody's fighting for something, you know, a position or stay in the top 35 or win the race. And this is a little small circle with a lot going on.
I think it goes back to Clint Boyer's spotter, Mike Dillon, with about 75 to go. It's time to go.
Yep. And you know, and I said about the Gibbs car, you just think about the number of races they shoulda, coulda won. If they hadn't run, they had fuel problems, steering boxes. I can think of a number of things that
and the 11 has been the victim of most all of them.
And that was the thing that was really getting Denny Hamlin down.
26 laps to go here in Martinsville, Virginia, as we get ready for a restart next week in the wide open spaces of Texas.
Unloaded block, ready to rock.
From the heart of Texas.
It's hot today.
Texas is the place to be.
Frank Biffle, Casey Kane, Jeff Burton, Carl Edwards. Baby, it's a racing right here. Wow. I got hung in a Texas tornado. That's what I call Texas size. You
sheriff in town.
Typical Texas.
Texas shootout.
I can't wait till we get to Texas.
Texas Hold'em.
Next Sunday, we're in Fort Worth, and then a weekend off before the Duel in the Desert. Phoenix, Saturday, April 18th, Saturday night. And then Talladega, Alabama, Sunday, April 26th. Those are the upcoming Sprint Cup races here on Fox.
Good thing about that Phoenix race, just remember going back to our baseball schedule, you can watch the baseball game, and then we come right on after that when we're at Phoenix.
Right. I think one of my favorite weekends, though, is definitely Texas. I mean, I love going there. It just feels big. And Eddie Gossage and those guys, I mean, what they call it, America's Speedway. I just call it big boy racing myself.
What's the over-under on Hammond having spurs?
Dick Berggren.
Well, Jeff Gordon led the early laps of this race, Mike, but the car simply will not turn in the corners for him. He right now is in 4th position with a lot of work ahead of him.
He led 147 laps earlier. But right now, it looks like a 2-horse race. Denny Hamlin, Jimmy Johnson, Tony Stewart trying for a piece of the pie. And we're ready to restart.
I like where Stewart is. I mean, if anything goes wrong with those first 2 cars, he's sitting in pretty good shape. Time it, time it, time it.
Green flag.
Jimmy Johnson trying to time it. Looks like Kyle Busch is going to stay tucked to the inside of the 48 on this restart. It'll give Hamlin a good run off turn 2. Now Johnson clears the 18 car.
Stewart coming, and again, Kyle Busch not a factor. He is laps down. Lets the 3 leaders by.
48's rolling in the middle of the corner a little bit better than 11, but the 11 has just got it up off the corner.
Gets in good, gets off the corner.
He can really, really pull the 48 up out of the hole. Jimmy's going to have to do something special to get back around him here. Got him there. He rolls right up to him, but then when they come off the corner, just loses that 2 or 3 car lengths. Hamlin will just keep that same pace every lap. He's going to be okay.
Darrell, it's almost like the 11 car Denny Hamlin's doing just what he has to do to keep the car on the bottom through the middle of the corner. He's not opening that door for the 48.
48's good right there in the center, as you can see. Then 11's got that zip up off the corner. That's paying off big time for him. He just don't want to let that 48 get up there and rub that bumper in the middle of the corner. Well, you see Jimmy, he's getting a little loose off, trying to stay with him as they exit turn 2 back there.
Well, Jimmy's got 2 choices, Darrell. Take the long way around on the outside of Hamlin or root him out of the groove.
Well, what Jimmy's going to start doing is he's going to make a late entry into the turn and try to get a lot of momentum and roll through the center and get a nose up alongside of him.
And that car right behind him, Tony Stewart, the 14 car running 3rd. He just run his fastest lap of this 500-lap race as we've got 19 laps to go.
Tony is sitting there. He's got a good-looking car. That thing is clean and hadn't been in any trouble all day long. Running well. Pretty happy, I would think.
Any restarts from here on out would be single file. Last 20 laps of the race. What a great 4-car battle we've had at one time. 4 of them for the lead at once. Typical day at Martinsville.
Yeah, and there's a lot of racing right behind these 2 leaders, too, between Jeff Gordon, the 33, and Mark Martin. And Dale Jr.'s trying to get up there.
Along with Ryan Newman.
Yeah, the 24 has got bottled up behind Menard in the 98 and Edwards in the 99. And also it's brought Mark Martin in the 5 car up into that battle.
Oh, boy. That 48 keeps rolling up closer in the middle of that corner. I believe if he could ever get to him, he might just give him a little push.
Now, on the right of your screen, the 99 of Carl Edwards is 2 laps down. He is not a factor in this battle, but he is trying to pass.
He's going to drive it in, Mike. Drove it in turn 3. Gets sideways. They both go up the racetrack. Here comes Stewart in the 14.
That's exactly what I thought might happen for Tony. I thought those 2 might mess up, and there would come Tony.
Boy, Johnson used a little hustle and a lot of muscle to get past Denny Hamlin. 15 laps to go. Is plenty of time for Hamlin to get back to him.
Oh, yeah. If he can catch him back, I don't think this race is definitely over with. I'm pretty sure Jimmy Johnson's going to drive all he's got right now. He doesn't want that 11 back on his bumper.
15 to go.
Tony Stewart is right there now, and he's going to work on the back of that 11 car.
Well, Jimmy Johnson's got to drive it like he stole it, because the way he got past Hamlin, if Hamlin can catch him, he will move him.
Yeah, he just stole the lead, so he better drive it like he stole something.
If he keeps the lead to the end, he better even run his cool down lap fast.
Don't look back.
I tell you what, though, both those guys, they showed a lot of car control.
They did.
Those cars back
We've seen that earlier today. Those 2 guys, you know, everybody else has spun out when they did that.
Jimmy Johnson
Move in nice and easy.
trying to pull away. Let's see that pass again. My gosh.
Was Chad not impressed, or was he just thinking, way to go, you know?
Well, there's still 12 laps to go.
This is, you know, we talked about this early in the race. The hardest thing to do is get down in this corner under somebody and not spin out or get into them. Now, those two cars, for all practical purposes, are wrecked.
Yes, they are. And you can see Stewart, he's just licking his chops
Well,
out there.
he didn't know what to do. He wasn't sure where they were going to go, so he kind of laid out a little bit.
Can Denny Hamlin get back to Jimmy Johnson, or will this be another one that got away?
He's got his work cut out for him as we are now down to 10 laps to go.
And Johnson leads by 1 second.
Is it possible to have 2 Monster Mobile minutes? I think we just had a second one.
But I tell you what, the 39 here, Ryan Newman, and the 88 of Dale Jr., they are wearing each other out too.
That's for 7th place.
We got some battles going on. There you go. Get it back to him.
Junior's not finished yet.
They've been doing that to each other for the last 4 or 5 laps.
Jimmy Johnson has pulled out to over a second lead over Denny Hamlin as they'll be coming to 8 laps to go this time.
Do you know when Denny Hamlin muscled the lead away from Jimmy Johnson going down into turn 1 here, I'm not sure that probably Denny Hamlin didn't expect maybe a little contact if it came down to it.
How can a car like that 48 be so bad at the start of the race they have to stop on 2 of the first 3 cautions for adjustments and be so good now?
Did you see the guy sitting on the pit box? Did you see the expression on his face? He had none. All he knows is fix the car. I got the driver. We'll win this race. Look at that expression.
A plan comes together.
A little sigh of relief there. Yeah, we got to this. Thank you very much. Everything's going well like I planned it.
You know, Jimmy Johnson told us on Friday that Chad Knaus, he never quits working on things, whether it's at the shop or at the racetrack. He's tenacious.
Yep. And he's got a cool customer behind the wheel. I was going to say, if Jimmy didn't win today, he might have to shave that beard off. Because this is his house, and we know that.
Chad Knaus cut his teeth at Rockford Speedway up in Illinois. And it reminds me of a number of short track crew chiefs I've known that fall asleep under the car at 2 in the morning with a wrench in one hand and wake up at 5 in the morning and start turning that wrench again.
You know, just real quick, while Jimmy Johnson will be coming to 4 laps to go, a couple of cars, they have worked their guts out to get to the top 10 right now behind Dale Earnhardt Jr. A.J. Allmendinger up in 9th spot in that 44, and Jamie McMurray, who started 28th, just inside the top 10 and 10.
And I got to tip my hat to Mikey. I mean, my little brother is in trouble early, got a lap down, got the lucky dog, and he's fought back to 13th. Pretty good day for him, too.
6th place, Mark Martin, Ryan Newman. Continue to battle.
3 laps to go.
Boy, Ryan is just pouring that thing down in there.
Clear by 6.
Great day for Stuart Haas Racing. Tony in 3rd and Ryan pushing for 6th.
Boy, it is. They've had a couple of good weeks here.
2 to go. 2 laps to go.
Johnson's lead has stabilized at 1 second over Denny Hamlin.
I believe this little battle for 6, she's going to go all the way to the wire.
Yep.
Yeah, and Ryan is overdriving his car a bunch, but Mark's giving him enough room. It hadn't affected anything yet. But they're going to come to the line fighting with each other, and we got 1 lap to go.
Matt Kenseth bounced it off the wall.
Well, we're in the white flag lap now.
Jimmy Johnson's halfway down the back straightaway.
Newman and Martin lean on each other in turn 2.
I think Newman got the better of him that time.
I believe he will prevail.
Jimmy Johnson wins at Martinsville on the 25th anniversary of Hendrick Motorsports' first win. 41st Cup win as Dale Jr. bounces off the wall on the way to the flag.
Fishtailing to the house. Let's see what Johnson in the 11 car, if they have any words. No, it looks like pretty congenial.
5 wins.
Great work, Jimmy. Great work, man. Thanks.
5 wins in the last 6 Martinsville races for Jimmy Johnson.
That's 10 in the last 13 for Hendrick Motorsports here.
And 18 Martinsville wins for Rick Hendrick.
Can you imagine if he had all those clocks go off at once?
You're the man.
I think it's a little bit more than that. You're a little bit more than the man when you do what he just did.
the 7th time in 11 races, the driver who led the most laps, in this case Denny Hamlin, doesn't go to victory lane. Johnson did not lead this race until lap 430. But this pass on Denny Hamlin will send Jimmy Johnson and Rick Hendrick to Martinsville's victory lane and another grandfather clock. He didn't lead the race until 70 laps to go. But after bashing fenders and trading paint, Jimmy Johnson goes to victory lane. Welcome to the Lipitor post-race show. Dick Berggren down there among a sea of well-wishers for Jimmy Johnson.
And as Jimmy climbs out of the car, you ought to see the back tires on this thing from that burnout he did. The right rear is just shredded on the car, but it doesn't matter because Jimmy Johnson is the winner today. Take me through the pass for the lead. If that had been done to you, would it have been okay?
You know, I don't know how Denny got inside of me on that one restart. I felt like I was a little better, and sure enough, he was there, and he had the lane, and we raced hard from there. And then trying to come back and get him, I had a little bit better car in the longer run, and I was patient, set him up, got inside of him, and I assumed that he knew he ran me down because he didn't come back down into turn one and dump me. So he tried to put the squeeze on me, and I was up on the curb and sliding, and we got together, and he did a hell of a job of saving it. I thought I was going around too, and fortunately we had enough distance where we were to the next guy to not have any trouble or lose any spots. But I'm out of breath. That was just a fun day. We didn't have the best car at the start. We opted to lose track position and to work on the car, and slowly.
What did you do to fix that car?
The first couple things we did, we put spring rubbers in the right rear, and we lost track position and didn't really help. And then as the day went on, Chad kept playing with tire pressure and wedge, and we got the car right. It's such a special day for Rick standing here behind you, 25th year in the sport, to come back to the same track, same weekend, and win again. I'm just proud to be in his stuff.
5 out of 6 wins at this racetrack in this series. I mean, that seems impossible. How have you done it?
Good people like Mr. Hendrick and his entire organization. All the support from Lowe's, and I'm very excited to give the Lowe's fans something to cheer for today, and all the fans of the 48 and of Hendrick Motorsports. It's teamwork. It's about people, and we work hard to make it right.
Congratulations to you and your team. Mike?
Jimmy jumps 5 spots in the standings to 4th. Denny Hamlin moves up 3 spots to 5th. There's Rick Hendrick congratulating his winning driver. What a day and what a wild race. I love this place.
Well, you know, you said at the beginning, what happened at Bristol? They just carried it over here. All the aggression, all the bumping, all the running. We saw it today, and it was great. It was so much fun to be here today and watch this race.
But just look right there. All 4 of those Hendrick cars finishing up in the top 8, and a great day, as you mentioned earlier, for Stewart Haas Racing, with both those cars finishing in the top 6, Stewart and Newman.
Yeah, how about Allmendinger? Wow.
Yeah, Allmendinger, you know, 9th place. Pretty great run there. Juan Pablo Montoya and Marcus Ambrose, the converted road racers, both having a top 15 day.
Yeah, Michael's cars 13th, 14th, and 20th.
Tough day for Kurt Busch, 18th at the finish. Matt Kenseth never could get that lap back, and Kyle Busch fell 2 laps down.
I'm sure the Roush Fenway group, they're going to be glad to get away from these short tracks because it has not been good to them the last 2 weeks. Only 1 car up in the top 20 for that matter.
Well, we're going to their house next week.
Oh, yeah.
Roush sort of owned that place, so they'll get some redemption there.
You know who else it was nice to see in victory lane? There's Todd Bodine finishing last. His spotter, the driver who gave Rick that first victory here 25 years ago, Jeff Bodine, looking on at the pass for the win with car owner Rick Hendrick. Lots more to come from Martinsville. Stick around. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
Welcome back live in Martinsville. There's the champ, Jimmy Johnson, like Jordan in the 4th quarter. Tiger on 18, 16 laps to go. He made the move, muscled his way to the front, and held on for the anniversary win. 5 of the last 6 in Martinsville. Denny Hamlin led the most laps, 296. Wound up a tough 2nd. Denny is standing by with our Steve Burns.
Denny, you're defending champion of this race today, 2nd. Talk about that great battle with Jimmy Johnson.
I'm honored to be on a racetrack with guys like Jimmy and Jeff and Tony. Those are the guys who are the best in the business, and you know, it's just we came up short. That was short track racing. I would have done the same to him, and if it comes back around, I will do the same. But It's just the way it is. It's, you know, in Martinsville, you got to battle for every inch, and I was trying to protect the spot. He was trying to get it into the race, and that's the way it goes.
Great show for the fans, Danny.
Thank you.
Race day was the warmest day all weekend. Basically a rain out on Saturday as far as practice goes. So how different was this racetrack for you Friday to Sunday?
Yeah, looking back on it now, that little bit of practice we got on Friday probably hurt us because you know, it's a little bit different right side tire that Goodyear brought here, and we were really loose on Friday, so we tightened it up a bunch, and I just never could really get the car through the middle. I was good and clean air in there at the beginning of the race. When it rubbered up, we were just too tight. You know, Jimmy is just so good. That whole team, they're just so good, and so is Denny. I mean, I was really impressed with him today, and we were the third best car. Unfortunately, on that last restart, I just couldn't get around the lap cars to catch Tony, but still another great top 5 for the DuPont Chevrolet, and a heck of a race for the win, and I think the fans certainly got a great show. Thankful for them to come out here at Martinsville, and now we'll leave the short tracks and go to Texas. We seem to be better at those tracks than we are on the short tracks. I'm looking forward to seeing what we have there.
Their strong start to the season continues as we head on to the Great American Speedway.
Well, if anything had happened with those front 2 cars, Tony Stewart was ready to pounce. I don't know if I should ask the driver if he's mad he didn't have the win, or the owner if he's happy that both his cars finished in the top 6.
Well, both. I mean, and I was thinking about 4 laps before it happened down there in 3 and 4 that if they had a problem that we were right there in the catbird seat, and I was just too far back when they had their problem. But just real proud of our guys on the Old Spice Old Office Depot team, and really proud of Ryan and his guys on the U.S. Army team. We both had a great weekend, so this is a place I like, obviously, and you know, we're back up there running where we belong.
Tony told his crew, "Welcome to Teardown, boys, the first top 5 of the season."
Best finish for Stewart Haas Racing. This really, though, about Jimmy Johnson, a driver who embodies on the 25-year anniversary of Hendrick Motorsports and Rick Hendrick, the tough skill, the guts, the risk reward at the end, the classy professionalism.
Well, we definitely were looking for this kind of a finish here today, and I think it was really great to see the guy who won the race a year ago. You saw a guy that's won a race here 5 times come up there and really battle like we wanted them to do, and they were very, you know, I guess you might say, respectful to one another about what type of short track racing. This is the way it's supposed to be, gang. You're supposed to push and shove on each other, and in the end, we can get out and basically tip our hats at each other and get ready to go next week. And I love this kind of result.
Dick Berggren is with Rick Hendrick. Dick?
And Jeff Gordon has just been here to congratulate you, Rick. Your first Hendrick Motorsports win was here. The most recent Hendrick Motorsports win was here, and you have won so many races in between. How have you had so much success at this little track?
Oh, you know, I don't really know. I remember when my dad and I were down here, and I think it was '63, and Richard Petty gave me his autograph through right at turn 4 through the fence, and I came here with Ray Hendrick and ran the modifieds, and this place has got a lot of heritage, and Harry Hyde and Jeff Bodine, you know, all the people over the 25 years has contributed so much, and you know, it's unbelievable. I wasn't here. Linda and I were in church, you know, I guess 25 years ago. I had to call my mom on a payphone, find out what happened, and it's really neat to be here today and be a part of this, and real proud of the whole organization. Jimmy drove a heck of a race. All the cars finished in the top 10. Denny drove a heck of a race. You hate to see anybody lose a race like that, but fans saw a good one today.
Thank you, and congratulations, Rick Hendrick, winning team owner.
And thank you, Dick Berggren. A hug from Jeff Gordon, the 4-time champ, still the points leader. In fact, has the largest points lead of the season. Clint Boyer remains second, followed by Kurt Busch, and today's winner, Jimmy Johnson. And Denny Hamlin, who last week had jumped into the top 12 for the first time this year, remains in the 5th spot. Carl Edwards, as we head to Texas, he swept the races last year. Still looking for that first win of the year.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd be glad to get back to Texas, maybe get a chance to kind of get back to victory lane. But real quick before we forget it, congratulations to Chad Canals. Outstanding job today making the right adjustments to keep up with the racetrack. And oh, by the way, I thought Darrell said that, you know, Jimmy Johnson couldn't win with a beard. Looks like to me he can win with the beard.
He's going for his 4th straight championship, getting more on target. That's what is ahead on Fox. A Family Guy, American Dad. You'll laugh out loud. Animation, domination, all that good stuff. And 1:30 Eastern, 12:30 Texas time. We mentioned Carl Edwards, Eddie Gossage, and the Great American Speedway. They always put on a good show. The truck race is at noon tomorrow on Speed after being rained out here. For Jeff Hammond, I'm Chris Myers. Have a great week. Thanks for being a part of NASCAR on Fox.
Little track, a lot of smack. That's what we're going to see today.
Love it when it's 4 wide. Love it when it's fast. Love it when the leader's caught. The pack is moving past. Love it when they make it. are racing boys.
Promotional considerations provided by